computer. There we go. So now we're recording. So last time, I want to go over just a little bit about what we've talked about before, especially we have some new folks in the room. And I just kind of want to review, even with the old folks in the room, and I don't mean that to be literally old, because that's everybody. But,
Some older than that. I'm probably the oldest one in here.
but I should say veterans of this group. When we started this back, gosh, you know, I could go back. We're almost 3 years into this thing, believe it or not. We started this, let's see, in 2019, and I think it was February. And we met over at the center, over at the place, community center. And there were about 40 of us. And I spent 4 hours going over about half of the interface. And then the next time we did it on Saturday, there were about 15 of us. And I went over the rest of the interface. And then the next time there wasn't enough to even have a quorum. There were only about 5 of us. And it's been that way kind of ever since. And it's really a better group to only have about 5 of us than it is to have a huge group. We continue to have a little bit of turnover, but it's easier. And I think I like it a lot better, especially in a small place like this, to just have a small group, because there's so much, you know, you can have so much better one-on-one than you can in a group of 40 people.
Well, COVID put a dent in schedule too.
Yeah. Well, we were doing it face-to-face for what, about a year, and then COVID jumped in and we've been doing it. We did it online and now we're able to come back, even though COVID is still bothering us. Hopefully it won't be too bad of an issue as we go forward. So anyway.
They had 14,000 cases in San Antonio last week.
You know, they say that this one is easier to get, but it's milder on you. So,
But they're saying
If
that
you're not high risk.
if you've had the booster, and I can't get the booster because I've had bronchitis.
well, I don't know. I think there's so many different variations and so many different sicknesses, you know, that people have from it. I think it just depends on your own body and your own immune system as to how you get it and how it affects you. But anyway, we restarted back in September, and I thought, well, I'm just going to start over. And so I started with the interface. We talked a lot about the interface. In fact, that was the entire 4 hours that we talked, but I wasn't going to take and go as deep as I did before, because it was 8 hours going through. I didn't go through every menu item. I just went through the important areas that I thought you needed to know. So we went through, we talked about the menus at the top, we talked about the toolbar, talked about the panels, we talked about the other interface that there is, we talked about some preferences, and we talked about creating workspaces, shortcuts, all those things we talked about in that first meeting. And last meeting, we talked about layers. One of the things that really sets Photoshop apart from everybody else, at least in the beginning, was layers. For years, they were the only one that really had the layer functionality, and they're still the only ones that have it as robust as it is. You can do layers, you know, in other applications, but it's not as robust as it is in Photoshop. Now, Photoshop also pays attention to what other folks are doing, and that's why now they have the sky replacement, and they have a bunch of the AI stuff in there. They keep learning from what other people are doing, and keep throwing it in their products. But layers is a big deal, and we're going to begin to use layers. We'll do some layer stuff today, very minor, not a big deal. But the third thing I thought was most important about getting started was talking about brushes. And it's kind of amazing, because I went back and looked at that recording idea that was online via Zoom, and it's very close to what I'm going to talk about today, and it's a coincidence. I put a link, I sent you in the Google files a shortcut page. It's a PDF, PDFs and PSDs, I keep going back and forth. But it's a PDF that you can read. It's a bunch of shortcuts. At the bottom of that is a link to a YouTube video, which is the one I looked at this morning, and it's all about brushes. It's about working with brushes, creating new brushes, and then enhancing brushes. We're gonna go over a lot of that today. I'm gonna do it a little bit more elementary, I think, than I did at that time. I'm gonna have you do some stuff to kind of reinforce that, whereas all of those Zoom meetings were more of a show and tell that was a real workshop. So to get started, I made some notes, and there, to me, now, another thing is, in all of these workshops, these are my opinions. This is the way I do things, these are my opinion, doesn't make it the absolute gospel. You know, if you find out that it doesn't work for you, then do something else. But for me, there are 5 things that you should be thinking about when you're working on the brushes.
I'm already up, yeah, over here.
Don't want to give away any dog food or anything.
No, I mean,
Traffic coming through the door.
I don't think we have a problem with people getting stuff out there, but want to make it obvious.
Before you, I'm just wondering where you sent those, the stuff you're talking about.
I sent out a reply to all of the people that RSVP now.
It was through Meetup, so whatever email address you have associated with your Meetup.
If you don't have it,
Okay, let me look at my email.
you can get it off of here.
Okay,
Okay. So the way I like to do things, I'm gonna back up here in a second. The way I like to do things, I like to talk you through it. And when I'm talking you through it, I want you watching me and not trying to copy me. Okay, because we're gonna go back and I will go a lot slower and we'll work through it together, okay? But there are 5 things I think we need to be, that I think are important, and we're gonna go through each one of these 5. The first one is picking your brush. You gotta know, picking your brush. You gotta know which brush you want to use. And there are thousands of brushes out there. Now, if you have never imported brushes or anything, you probably have the standard brushes that come with Photoshop. And that's what we're going to work with today. It's just the standard brush. We'll create some brushes later, but we'll start with standard brushes. There's ways that you can import brushes. If you've taken a tutorial online sometimes or something like that, they'll give you some brushes sometimes. There's free brushes out there that you can go get. There's brushes you can buy. When you do that, you can import those brushes in, and then you'll see them being displayed from those. But picking the right brush is the first thing. Second thing is, how hard is the brush? And what I mean by that is the edge of the brush. How defined is that edge of the brush? Is it real gradated, smooth, or is it real sharp around those edges? The third thing is the opacity. You want, it's like paint, you know, when you're painting the house, you want to fill that brush and paint the house, or you just want to get the tip and just kind of get a little bit at a time. It's the same thing with the hair, opacity. Then there's flow. What's the difference between opacity and flow? We're going to talk about that. Opacity, when you paint, if you don't let up, it never gets any darker. It gets any darker unless you let up, which means you're filling the brush again in your paint. Flow, you can fill your brush, and each stroke it's going to get a little darker, a little darker, a little darker until it gets. It's not the airbrush, but it can be like that. You can imagine painting with a can of paint or something. Every stroke it adds a little bit. So that's the difference between flow and opacity. If you have your flow at a certain rate, it will never go above what your opacity is, but it will only add that little bit at a time as you brush across. So we'll see that.
Other types of selections for each product.
Those are options, and we'll talk about that. Yeah. Oops. Lost my notes. The last thing is, what color are you going to have to do? So we have the brush, the hardness, the opacity, the flow, and the color. Okay. Now there may be other things that people will say, oh, but what about this? What about this? Those are the things I think about. And it may be as we get along here and looking at brushes, there may be more than that for you. Yes,
That last one was color?
yes,
Okay.
yes. I'll try to
Okay.
speak louder. I'll turn this way some and talk. Since my
That's
microphone is over
okay.
here.
I was able to hear you just fine.
Okay, I kind of talk loud, so hopefully it works. So I'm going to share my screen now. If I can remember how to do that, share screen right there. And I'll share the desktop. Okay, and I'm going to open Photoshop, and I'm going to open the latest version. Actually, I don't have the latest version on my bar down here, so I'm going to go get it. And you can see here, I've got all these different versions. Photoshop 2022 right there. So we'll open that.
Is that just so you can go back and in case there's a feature or something, way to do it? You just
I started because there's a history that there's always problems when they release something new. Something doesn't work, or it doesn't work with this particular kind of a screen. It doesn't work, whatever it is. And excuse me, and if that is the case for me, I want to be able to go back and do something. And that happened with 3D. When I found out 3D wasn't supported, I had to go back to a previous version to do 3D.
When you update, can you skip updates?
Sure.
I'm 2 versions behind. Can I go straight to the newest one or do I have to update in steps?
I don't know the answer to that, but I'll just go tell it to update and it'll do what it needs to do. If it needs to add both of them, it'll add both of them. If not, it'll stay.
Yeah,
alone.
most programs, they'll either tell you you need to update to a previous version, or they'll just sequentially do all the updates if it needs to.
Yeah. Okay, so I didn't realize it was going to open right here. Okay, so where's my panel? Yeah.
This one doesn't work. It's not sticking.
Well, it got rid of my, oh, I guess that's good enough. I got my toolbar over here. Okay, this is the setup that we decided we would have for the beginners. Okay, so we have a very small toolbar and we have only 2 panels that are open over here. Okay, we have layers and properties open over here. And you don't have to follow
to
this.
listen to you right now.
Right.
Then we can go back.
Right. I'm just telling you, that's why my desktop looks this way.
Okay.
Whenever we did the interface workshop, everybody was supposed to create a workspace that looks like this.
Okay.
Okay. So that's why I just want to explain to you guys that haven't been here that that's why my workspace looks like this. Okay. In the workspace here, when you get ready to select a brush, you can do it in one of 2 ways. You can hit the B key for brush, and that should be a shortcut to take you to brush. I have found that there are times whenever my shortcuts don't work for some reason, so I have to go click on the brush. Okay, so just let you know, I use the shortcut keys every chance I get. Now I have, and you can see over here in the toolbar, I have the brush selected. And with every tool that you have over here, you have an options bar up here. The options bar, I wonder if I can move this somewhere. You can't see this, Felicia, but
Yeah, I can.
Lots up there.
I can see everything.
okay, yeah, but I can't because it's my toolbar to get around and it messes me up. So I just wanted you to know that you
Oh.
can't see it.
Okay.
Okay, so you have these options up here, and what these are exactly what they say. They're options to use with the tool that you're using. And each tool has a different set of options. As I click through these, you'll see the options change. Okay, notice that. Now this right here is not an option. This is how you get to the other interface, this little house. You click here and you go to this other interface. And we talked about this during the interface class. There's tutorials over here. There's previous images that you've worked on that you can select. You can look at your Lightroom photos over here and so on. And to get back, you just click on the Photoshop button. but that's not part of the options bar. I wanted to make that clear. It's going to be there no matter what you select. But every time I select a different tool, this changes up here. Okay. So for the brush, it has its own unique set of tools. Okay. We're going to talk about a few of these tools as we go along. Now, again, I'm going to talk about these and then we'll go through them together. Okay. The first one here, and all of the tools have this, and it's a tool preset. And what you can do is you can set options over here and save it to a preset so that all you have to do, you don't have to remember what those options were. You can just come in here and select the tool preset or the brush preset. Okay. So like I have this one, well, actually it's not one, but if I wanted to save one, I could change the opacity, I could change the flow, and I could change, whatever else in here. Whatever, and then I could come in here and I could save new tool preset, and I could save it with those settings. And then next time I give it a name, next time I go in there, I just click that tool preset and it has all my settings for me. Now, what they'll do is if you click on that, it's going to come up here and say, wouldn't you rather create a brush preset instead? And a brush preset, we'll talk about in just a few minutes. But for me, a brush preset is much more than just these little settings up here. And sometimes I want to have just these settings set. And if I want a brush preset set, I'll do it a different way. But anyway, I just want you to know that whenever you click in here, it's going to say that. Would you like to create a brush preset instead? And for me, it would be a no. And I'm just going to cancel those because I don't want anything. Okay, so that's the first thing. And it's I very seldom use that. Okay. You okay, Jeannie?
She getting on the Wi-Fi.
Oh, okay. Excuse me. Oh, by the way,
It's FAR.
I brought water if anybody wants water.
Yeah, already. Yeah.
Okay.
Friends, they know. Something or other, if they are. Yeah, and then
You guys want water?
I got one, thank you.
Jeannie, you want?
Yes, please, thank you. I don't mind in the car.
Okay. Okay. Now, the second thing up here is your brush. This is the how you pick your brush. So you can click on this and it opens this brush panel. Now, there's a couple ways that you can do this. You can select it from here, or you can also do function 5 and it opens. Oh, that's the brush settings preset. Sorry about that. I usually have these set together. So I guess selecting, you can select the brush from here, but I don't recommend it. So let me close this. So the best way, I think still the best way to select it's over here because there's more stuff you can do. And in this, you can select your brush, just pick any brush, and then it will fill in the information here based on what brush you select. Okay, so it gives whatever size that brush is default, whatever the softness of that brush is on default, it will put that in there. Okay.
So they all have default.
They all have defaults, correct?
Is the opacity and flow also default or?
No, not unless you create a preset for the tool preset that I was talking about. So you'll notice when I clicked on this one down here, you can't select the hardness on it. That's because of the way that brush is created. So just be aware that.
Should I open the general?
Don't open anything, just watch.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, so if you look up here, I don't know if you can see that real well, but you can change the size of the brush, but you can't change see how that's grayed out? You can't change the softness of this particular, I call it hardness, of this particular brush. We're not going to work with that brush though. We're going to work with the soft round brush when we get there. So here is where you can set the size of the brush and the hardness. Remember we talked about that. Those are 2 of the 5 things. How big is the brush? How soft is the brush? and which brush. Now, this thing over here is kind of cool. I never use it, but it's kind of cool. In this case, it's a round brush, so it doesn't really matter what this is. But let's say you were painting in something and you needed to get in a corner. Okay, a round doesn't fit in a corner very well.
Oh, okay.
So what you can do is flatten this brush like this and then turn it, and then your brush is going to look like that. So if I click it, so it becomes a little arrow there. There we go. And hit OK, and then you have that kind of a brush. I don't have anything open, so it's not, you can't see it. That's why. Let me just do a file open new. And just open this, just so you can see, make it look bigger here. And there's my brush. See, it's got that, it's kind of flattened. Uh-oh. My internet connection is unstable, so I hope we don't lose you.
Yeah, I'm still here. I
Okay,
think we froze up a little bit, but yeah.
okay. Hopefully it'll stay with us.
I hope so.
Okay, so anyway, that's what you can do with that. And that's what this angle over here is. You grab this end like that and you pull it around and your angle becomes whatever angle you want that to be. You can manually set it up here in the options bar, or you can just turn it here the way you want it. And then you have it over here that way. So you see the brush over there to the side. So that's what that's for. And I typically use a mask and I'll just paint that corner and then I'll take it off of the edges. But I mean, if you don't have that option, then this is one way that you could really work with that.
Did I
So
hear
down
you
here-
right? You said that angle is the placement on the paper. So
The
whether it's
angle
flat
is-
or,
Yeah, it's the angle here. See, I've got the angle. Let's make it at 90 degrees here. Or it's 88 degrees. See, it's 88 degrees there.
yeah,
So it's straight up and down.
straight up and down. Yeah. And then
Yeah,
the
so
other,
that's- Yeah. So if I
Yeah,
made
would be
it
the other. Okay.
45,
it would be sideways. Okay.
yeah, or that's 45, I guess. Whatever's 45. Anyway, yeah, that's what that is.
Okay.
Now, I mentioned I went back to 2 versions back this morning and looking at it. 2 versions back, we didn't have this search bar. This search bar is really nice now because you can search for your brushes. Before, you can look here. I've got all these brushes.
Wow.
And to go in there and look through all those brushes to try to find the one I want. I can't even remember what group it's in or anything, but I can go in there and do a search. I can remember the name of it and it'll pop it up. So the search, uh-oh, meowing here.
Yeah, he's ready.
So if I did a soft round, there's a lot of soft rounds here, but this one says pressure opacity. This one says pressure opacity and flow. This one says pressure size. So the one that doesn't have all of those things is the one we would work with because all it is just a brush with no functionality. And we're just going to paint with it. Okay, does that make sense? Kind of, maybe. Okay, so that's the way that works to get that. And I would click here and it would be the brush that would be selected. Now, this up here is the last 7 brushes you selected. So if you have selected a couple of brushes and you've painted, and then you want to go back to the one you did before, you can come back here and just select the last. Must sneeze here, sorry. Oh, I didn't. Good. I've had kind of a runny nose when it's cold. I don't have COVID,
I know.
especially after I
That's the
have,
worst thing, putting a mask on. Oh,
yeah.
I need to just stuff a Kleenex up there.
In the dental office, we put their cotton rounds.
Things.
Yeah, the things you bite on, we stick them in our nose.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that.
Ooh, that sounds
But
uncomfortable.
well, when we have a runny nose and you got that mask on, it's miserable.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so you've got in the panel down here, you've got all these brushes. You can see that they're in folder hierarchy here. And you have this little sliding bar down at the bottom. If you want to see them bigger, you can make it bigger like that. or if you want to see more of them on a page. So you can go back and forth like this to see a little bit easier what you're looking at. Up here in the right-hand corner is a gear, and we all know that a gear means settings or something like that. So if we open that up, here's where we can create a new group, we get a bunch of brushes and we want to group them together, say Bob's brushes or something. We can create a new group and then put them in the group, and it's real easy to do that. Now these here with checks on them are going to be what shows up in your box over here. So if I don't want to see the stroke, I can click that and I don't see the stroke anymore. I just see the tip. If I want to see the stroke but not the tip, then I can turn the stroke on and then turn the tip off. And so now you have the stroke and you can see what it looks like. Now, the good thing about having the tip up there too is that the stroke is just a bunch of tips added together. So you kind of get to see both of them if you have that up there. But you can also hide the name if you don't care anything about seeing what they're called, because you already know their name or whatever the situation is. I like to see their name because then I can search for them. I know what to search for. So the rest of this is for, you can also say to see or not see the search bar, which I like to see, and the recent brushes. Excuse me. So I like to have all of those turned on. But then the rest of these are for exporting brushes or importing brushes. Get more brushes takes you to Adobe, and you can go to Adobe and get some free brushes over there. So legacy brushes, if you get a newer version, they don't bring in necessarily the legacy brushes you had before. And if you've been using those brushes, you can bring the legacy brushes in. Now, one thing I want to warn you about though is that they now have a thing where you can keep, if you have two computers, you can keep them in sync with all the brushes. Well, I now have 3 versions of the same brushes in here. So, because I have legacy brushes on my desktop, legacy brushes on this laptop, and legacy brushes on another laptop, and they've all been synced together. So I have 3 versions of the same thing. So I'm not sure what I did, and probably something I did wrong, but I just wanted to warn you. I went in here and I deleted all of these yesterday, and they're back today. So
They're in the cloud somewhere.
yeah, well, they're syncing back and forth, and then I get an error message on my desktop that says, we can't sync your brushes because you got too many. So I tried to go in and delete a bunch of them, but I still, when they sync, they bring them all back. So I don't know what to do, but I'm not too worried about it.
So computer,
What?
get rid of those other computers.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I actually did order another laptop, by the
Oh,
way.
boy. That's fun.
Yeah,
Why?
because I need one with more power and one with better battery to use whenever I'm at the schools.
How old is yours?
It's about 3 years old.
Yeah, it's about time.
Yeah, but I also have one that's like 11 years old,
Yeah.
and I use it as well. It's just not as powerful. So, I mean, this is a great computer. It's just, it only has 32 gig RAM on
Only.
it, only. I got to have at least 64, but I'm getting the new M1 Max with 2 terabyte hard drive and 64 gig of memory. Anyway.
Sounds like gas to me.
It's-
$3,000 to me.
It's more than that.
Oh, yeah, it's a lot more than that.
Oh, it's a Mac. After that.
Yeah, it's a Mac. Okay, so this is basically how you select your brush. Okay, so it's pretty simple, especially if you know the name of your brush or whatever. And just because you select a soft round brush doesn't mean it has to stay soft. Or a hard round brush doesn't have to stay hard, because you can change the hardness up here. I've got a soft round brush selected, but now it's a hard brush because I just did 100% hardness. So it just depends, on really the functionality of the brush. And I like to select either a soft round or soft hard brush and then just do what I want to.
I have a question. Is this across the board for, like, if you're doing the healing brush also, this is the same sort of thing you would do to select your brush for it?
Yes,
Okay.
I was going to mention that. That's good. Brushes are used not just to paint, but they're also used in the healing brush, in the clone stamp tool. They're used in dodging and burning. So it's the same brush, same functionality. If you select a soft round, you can use it over there as well. And there's lots of times whenever you're cloning that you may want to have a soft edge on it, not a really hard edge. You definitely don't want a real hard edge when you're cloning because it will blend. Okay, good. Okay, so that is the first thing, is selecting a brush. Okay, now the next thing is actually the settings. And I didn't realize they had it up here. I guess they've had it up here a long time, but you click on this, this is the settings, and we're going to get into this a little bit later. But basically this allows you to take your brush. You can select your brush from here, but I don't like to do that because I get lost in here. I don't know what's what. I can't see the name of it. And a lot of times I can't really tell what kind of brush it is. So if you know the number, you can select it from here, but I usually don't do that. But over here is functionality. And by the way, again, I'm going to mention that video that I gave you a link to, and it goes over all this stuff in detail. So if you want to hear this over and over and over again, you can watch that until you kind of
What
get
did
it.
you click on to get that?
It's this little thing right up here, this little paintbrush in a folder thing.
Version of the folder thing.
Yep. Or function F5 shortcut. Okay. Now, the thing is, here again, you can change the size of the brush. Down here is the preview, by the way. Anything you do in here, you can see in the preview. So I can change the size. I can change the hardness, make it hard. See how it turns to a hard brush, back to soft. Now, the thing that's really cool here, or you can also do this if you want to, make it flat, whatever. The thing that's really cool here is that you can push it out here and you can space those little dots apart so that when you paint now, you got little dots that go across and you don't have a smooth paint stroke. So this allows you to see the tip, the brush tip, and it looks like this. So if you're confused on what brush you have, you can always come here and space it out and see what the brush tip looks like. Okay. Let's see what else is in here. Flip X and Y really doesn't do anything with a round brush, but basically it flips the axis, X and Y. You can go up and down or go left and right. So if you have something that is not symmetrical, you can flip it by using this X and Y checkboxes. And then you have all these things over here. And I'm not going to get into those now. We'll get into those in a couple of hours because that's pretty deep stuff. You need to understand the brush itself first. But that's what.
Can I just confirm real quick though? You said in a couple of hours. Didn't this class go to 3:15 today?
Goes to 5.
Oh, I saw somewhere it was 1:15.
It was on meetup, it said 1:15 to 3:15, but on your note
Really?
that you put in, it
Yeah.
said at 5. Yeah, check it out.
Yeah, I thought it ended at 3:15 today.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll check that out because it should just been a copy of the other meetups that we had. But yeah, it goes to 5 o'clock. And if you can't stay, then that's,
I can't. Ooh, okay.
oh, okay, I'll look right quick just to.
Yeah, on Meetup, it says 3:15.
Mine says camera code, sorry. Photoshop there.
That's why we bring our power supplies, because nobody's batteries in last.
Wow, yeah. I don't know where it got to 3:15. It does say that. I apologize. It goes to 5 o'clock. So we may not get this to some of it by 3:15 because I want to spend some time on this other stuff.
I want to be here to 5.
You're gonna be here to 5? Okay, okay. Well,
I
I'm sorry.
was
for them.
expecting it till 5, so.
One thing I will say is that's a good segue, I guess, that we're going.
And just
we
in
have-
case you're wondering, for the intermediate one for February, it also says 3:15. So you might want to change that.
I will. Thank
Yeah.
you. Holy moly, I don't know how that got changed. I'm sure something I did.
May have defaulted to 2 hours or something like that. You just.
Yeah, okay. Anyway,
So I'll have to go do private tutoring for Jen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Watch those videos.
yeah, that video will take you through that stuff to create new brushes and how to adjust and that kind of stuff. So,
Okay, because, just to back up a step, for those of us like me that are like true beginners, like a lot of stuff you're talking about is so valuable, how to select a brush and what I'm at the point where I would be where, do I even need a brush? I mean, is that your first tool that you use in Photoshop?
it's a tool that I use most of the time on almost every image.
Okay.
That's why I wanted to talk about it. I don't always paint color with it, but I'll use it on mask and that kind of stuff to paint off a mask or something. And we're going to do some of that here in a little bit to show you how it works. Wow, I feel bad now. I should have. I always mess up something. Last time it was paint.
Meetup is so
Yeah.
flaky anyway.
I'll stay as long as I can. Yeah. We do appreciate you teaching us.
Oh, well, my pleasure, really. Anyway, that's what this does. You can play around with it and we'll get to these later. And they're in the video as to what these things do. And I don't know that I go over every one of these individually because each one of them has a ton of functionality. But just remember that anything in here, it's going to say jitter. If it says jitter, just replace it with random. So I don't know why they call it jitter. Maybe that's a technical term or something, but it just means that size jitter means it's going to randomly change the size. That's all it means. So, and if I do that and I change this size jitter, you're going to see, let me come down here and do some spacing first. Oh, yeah. So see the different sizes of the circles now. So if I go back and I change that even more, they're going to get even more different. See what you can get there. So if I stroke with it, you're going to get something that looks like that. There's different sizes. If it's small, big, medium, so on. And then you have other options here that do the same thing, or that do.
I would think that would be more likely to be used on some of those that you showed us, like the one that had the grass.
Mhm.
Then it's grass, is that where you, because I can't imagine, what else would you use it for?
Yep.
But that's where that's used.
Yeah. Same
Make it
if
a little more natural.
you have leaves, you can have a leaf and you can turn it different angles and you can have it different sizes. And you
Yeah.
brush and you have this leaves that are falling from the tree or something. So that's what it's all about. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm not gonna.
Pretty neat.
Yep. Let's see. So now I'm gonna cancel out of that. Okay. So we have this white box. The next thing is mode. I don't know how I got a linear burn, but we haven't talked, and blend modes. Pardon me, I had ribs for lunch. It's coming back. Blend modes are pretty, not really advanced, but they're kind of intermediate. So we're really not going to talk about blend modes, but basically what they allow you to do is blend things together, exactly like it sounds. And they do it with different colors and with different shades and that sort of thing. So you can do it. Typically you have to have 2 layers, at least 2 layers, because you got to blend with something. But when you're painting with a blend mode, then it's just blending the paint into the layer that you're on. So it's a little different. So there could be some times, and like I said, it's a little bit of advanced. I don't want to get into it too much, but blend modes, depending on which blend or which mode you take, does something different. It can lighten it, it can darken it, it can add contrast, it can just add color, it could just add lightness. So all these different things. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Okay, so opacity. In your shortcut folder or file, that I sent you, I talked about how to change the opacity and how to change the flow using a shortcut. And if you use a shortcut, it's so much faster. But if you don't want to do that, you can either grab, there's a scrubby slider here. You can see where I don't know if you can see that, where the hand is turned into a hand. If I pull it to the right, it's increasing the opacity, and to the left decreases opacity. See that? You can either do that or you can just type it right in there. and do like 80%, and that works too. But the easy way to do it is to type in a 4 and it goes to 40%. Type in an 8 and it goes to 80%. If you want to go to 82%, you have to type in an 8 too, right together like that. That makes sense? That's the easy way to change the opacity. Changing the flow is the same thing, except you press shift. So shift 6 makes it 60%. Shift 91 makes it 91%. Same thing. So that's the easy and quick way to change your opacity and flow.
And I have no idea what that does to a photo.
We're about to talk about that.
Good.
Okay. Oh, and by the way, 0 is 100. So if you want to go to 100%, you press 0. Okay. So if I want to go at 100% opacity, and I'm doing some shortcuts here, but I'll explain those in a minute. I have 100% opacity, 100% flow, and if I paint, oops, I didn't change that. Let me go back and change that back to its default. Spacing back to 0. Okay. 100% opacity, and this is a soft brush. You get this. Okay. Because I'm painting in black. Okay. Which I didn't mention, but you can see that the swatch is over here. This is the foreground color. That's the background color. So the foreground color is black. You always paint with the foreground color when you're painting. Okay. So if I want to go to 50%, I press a 5 and then I paint. And now you can see the difference between 50% and 100%. If I want to go 10%, I press a 1 and now it's just 10%.
Basically, opacity is the ability to see through something.
Yeah, is it how opaque it is? Correct.
And then if you hit it more than once, it's like hitting it with more paint, right?
Yeah, that's what I was just about to do. If I press here and I don't let up and I keep going, nothing happens. But if I let up and then press again, it lays down another 10%. If I let up, it lays down another 10%, like that. Okay, that's opacity. Now, I'm going to throw those away. I'm going to add, this is for my benefit, I'm going to add the history panel in here. And I'm going to, you can always go back to the very beginning by clicking this and it takes you back to the beginning. Now we'll talk about flow. I'm going to change the opacity to 50%. Okay. I'm going to change the flow to 10%. Okay. So here's what happens. I brush it once, I get 10%. I come back, I get another 10%. Go back. This is without letting up. And you go back and forth and it lays down 10% till it gets to 50%. It will never get above 50% though. Okay. That's my opacity. You can never go above your opacity. So if I make my opacity 80%, do the same thing, I'm gonna go across here, it gets darker and darker and darker. It gets up to 80%, it stops. If I make it 100%, then it lays down a little at a time, but it finally gets up to 100%. And the thing that's nice about doing it this way is that if you don't know how dark you want it, you can, but you know you don't want it darker than 80% or something. You can set your fit or your flow to 10% and just kind of go back and forth until you get it as dark as you want and stop. Otherwise, if you just do it with opacity, you paint, you have to let up and paint, let up and paint. But I got to tell you, for 15 years or so, that's the way I did it with opacity because I didn't know how to use fill. And I'm still doing it that way just because I'm used to it. Okay, so that gives you an idea. Does that help with painting? We're gonna use it on a picture in a minute.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what the application of it. Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Let me look at my notes here. Make sure I'm not forgetting.
You just have this hand when you're diving and
Certainly. Yeah.
control.
Unless if you're using the dodge and burn tools, it works different. If you're dodging and burning using the brush, though, sure, which is the way I do it. But, yeah, let's see. It's here. Oh, we're not through with the options bar yet. Let me just go ahead and do that, and then we'll come back to this. I'm kind of doing things out of order here. Okay. These right here, this and this, these little, they are to use with a tablet. Okay, it's for pen pressure. So you can control your opacity with pen pressure if you click this. If you click this over here, you can control your size of your brush. I think it says use pressure for size. Yeah. So in other words, the harder you press down, the more your opacity you can get. So it's one of the nice things about using a tablet is that you can control your brushes by how hard you press and sometimes how straight up and down you press, and different things like that. So there's different functionality in a tablet like this that you can use with your brushes that you can't do with a mouse. And these are two of those. This right here is your what do you call it? Airbrush. Yeah, I knew what I wanted to say, but I couldn't remember.
That's
Yeah.
That's by flow.
That's, yeah, this one right here by Flow, it's the Airbrush. So if you wanted to use the air, and I've never used the Airbrush, so I gotta tell you, I'm sure it's a wonderful tool. I just have never thought about using it. So it may be something that can change my life. I don't know. I probably should look into it.
Big painting on the regular card.
Yeah, right. I could create some.
Pictures of regular card.
Smoothing is something that I don't like, but it's there for a purpose, I'm sure. But I'll show you, you have to have your brush set up for smoothing. See, there's nothing available in smoothing. So if I come over here into this and I check smoothing right here, now it comes up. So smoothing is, close this. Whenever I paint with smoothing, it's supposed to give you, see how it drags along there? It's way behind my cursor. That's why I don't like it, because when I'm painting, I like to know where my paint is.
Yeah, for sure.
So, but that it's supposed to give you smoother turns and smoother edges, but I don't use it. So, but you can definitely look into it if you think it's something you may want to use. But for our purposes of getting started with brushes, don't worry about it. And then along with smoothing, you have this little gear that you can use options with your smoothing. So we're not going to talk about that. We just wanted to point it out to you. Here you have your angle for your brush. Again, we talked about that earlier. Now this right here is something that's kind of interesting. Let me, and it's kind of fun, but it's not something I would do all the time. You have these options here, and I'll show you how they work. Let's just pick vertical. You have a vertical line here. Whatever I do on this side is going to do the same thing on the other side. So if I come over here, I can create designs like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's with that tool. And of course you
What
have,
was that called?
this is your, I don't know what it's called. It's a little butterfly here.
Oh.
It's Symmetry. I think there's,
Okay.
yeah, I think there's Symmetry tools. So you can do a dual axis here. You have this, and you can
No, I
do
like
sweet
that.
things like that.
That's very neat.
So we can create designs.
I don't know
So,
what I'd ever do with it, but it's neat.
I mean, that's kind of the way I feel too. It's kind of cool, but
It's more for, I guess, graphic side kind of stuff.
yeah. And you could, I had a soft brush there. If you had a harder brush and you had different color, you
Uh-huh.
can create some pretty neat little things. But anyway, that's the toolbar for the brush. And the only things right now that are important to us is the opacity and the flow, and of course, the brush itself, which brush we use. Okay. Now let's talk about the color down here for just a minute. In your toolbar down at the bottom is your color swatch for your foreground and background. You always paint, when you paint, you always paint with your foreground color. Okay. If you want to change that color, you just have to click in the box and it brings up a little color picker. You can pick a different color, select it. And now notice that your foreground color is blue. So I can come over here and paint with blue. Oh, I still got smoothing on. Let me go change that before I forget. So that's the way that you can change your foreground color. You can change, if you decide that you want, let's change your background color to red. Whoops, I didn't change. Oh, I didn't say okay. There we go. So if I want to paint with my background color, I have to switch the colors. And if you see that little double arrow there that's kind of at an elbow, you click on that and it will change those so that now your red is your foreground color and you can paint with red. Now, the easy way to do that is a shortcut, which we all know shortcuts are good. So if you want to change, this is in your file too. If you want to change to your blue again, just press X and it changes, switches your foreground background colors. So X is something you're going to need to remember for a long time. I use it all the time because it switches back and forth. And now I can paint with blue again. Now, what if I go?
She has a question.
Oh, yes.
So on the shortcuts, it says command. Is that for Apple?
Yes. Control
Okay, so we
for
Control for PC?
PC.
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
I meant to mention that again. Good question. Okay, so
Are you finally outnumbered by PCs today?
I would say so. I'm the only Mac on here.
Yay, we did today.
Like I said before, I had a PC for 20 years, 25, 27 years, something like that before I went to Mac. So from 1985 with the IBM, whatever it was, had two megabyte drive in it.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, now let's say I want to go back to my black and white. Well, I can go choose them. I can click in here and I can go find black, which is down here. And that will be black, but is that really 100% black? Not really, it's 3, 3, and 3, 0, 0 is 100% black. It probably wouldn't matter. But the easy way to do it is press D on your keyboard, D for default. And it brings you back to your default colors, so the black and white. Okay, then I can paint with black again. Uh-oh,
We're in trouble.
police are here.
Escort. Not that kind of escort, but the motorcycle escort service next door. Well, I assume.
Sure.
It could be.
I say, I didn't know
Could be
this.
a dual business. I don't know.
Didn't know we were in that part of town.
We're by the guard station. So we'll riff-raff truck.
Gosh, I'm just getting excited.
Yeah, me too.
Let's get Johnny's in.
You're on some salacious activity today, right?
Some flashing lights and sirens.
It's only fun when you're not guilty.
So there's only one thing we haven't really talked about, and that's the size of your brush. We kind of mentioned it in passing. It wasn't one of the 5
I know
items.
shortcuts for that.
I know more.
I only know one. That's all I know.
That's right. If you want to change the size of your brush, you can just press the bracket keys next to your P key. The left one makes it smaller, the right one makes it bigger. But you know that increments it in 100 pixel increments. So what if I wanted to go to 650 pixels instead of 600? How would I do that? I could go back over here to my brush, to, again,
There's a 65 in there somewhere.
and type in 650 or 65 or whatever. And I would have that size. Oops. I don't know what size I put it in. Yeah, 650. It's pretty big, I guess. Oops. Yeah, there we go. But there's an easier way. that I like, because it also will change the smoothness of your, or the softness of your brush as well. If you press on the Alt and Control key and then drag your mouse up and down, it changes the softness. See that? If you go left and right, changes the size. And it does it by pixel. Now, I don't know of any reason why you would want to have a particular pixel size.
You
This
said
is
Alt, Control?
Alt Control. Is that working for you?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Because I have, and I've known this for years and years, and I just got started using it just a few years ago, and it just is so easy to do because it does both. I'm usually wanting to change the soft, instead of changing the softness by coming over here and dropping down and changing the softness here, I can do it on the fly with just pressing. On me, it's option, but you can see I can change the softness, and I do it all the time now, changing the softness of my brush. And that's the easy way to do it. So change the size and change the softness,
And changing the size, going back and forth.
left and right,
Um,
and up and down is the softness or the hardness, every way you want to look at it. Okay. And I don't know if that's on the shortcut sheet or not. But anyway, so now we've talked about finding the brush. We've
picking
talked
your
about,
brush.
excuse me, we've talked about opacity and flow. We've talked about size. We've talked about softness. We've talked about color. Did I miss anything? Now we're going to go back and we're going to let you do it. Yeah. There is one more thing I want to mention. Okay. And that is that brushes are created. Let's go back to the beginning here. Brushes are created to either be painted strokes with or just to stamp. So that stamp is only at 10% flow. So if we make that 100% flow, then it would be a stamp like that. So in a particular situation, like the grass you were talking about, if you wanted in a tree, they have brushes for trees. You could just do a single stamp and have that tree, and that's all you want. But you can also create your own watermark. You make a brush out of it, and then you just go and stamp it. You don't paint with it, you just stamp with it. So there's, excuse me, I always think of back in my office days, whenever you had the page stamp like that, it's the same kind of thing. So you either paint with it or you stamp with it. So I just wanted to mention that. Okay. So where are we here? Okay. Now we're going to do this together. Okay. So I want you to come up here to the brush selection tool, which is right now it's where you are, whatever brush you have selected, and the size is what that is. You click and open that. And I want you to go into the search bar, and I want you to type soft round.
What are the soft round right there in front of my face?
Excuse me?
What are the soft round brushes right in front of my face?
It's okay. I want
That's
you-
why I don't have to put the search bar in.
I'm not even on the right page.
Yeah,
I have it on the right page.
When you go to
Click on PS.
the toolbar on the top,
yeah.
and where it has the size, like a number underneath it, that drop down arrow next to it.
Maybe drop down. You just, so you've never been in Photoshop.
On my desktop, on my desktop PC, but not on this.
So why does it not go over there? Just try clicking it. I need to invest.
Oh, I keep missing one, let me see. Yeah, because you would think it would just open. Oh. New, open, open.
Try clicking it again. Yes, they're not there. that is supposed to take, here you go. It's a,
Okay.
I think. It's a-
I don't know if it's this little thing or Wi-Fi.
it's a little bit slow, there we go. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm. So type in soft round and just hit enter. And then make sure that you select the brush that says soft round. If you've already got it selected, that's okay, but just click on it there so that it is selected and then hit enter. Yep.
See, my left hand thing, it doesn't look like yours.
Okay, your toolbar, you got a lot more tools selected. So just hit B for brush. This is your brush tool right there. Underneath that, like this. Okay, it's selected. Finally, it's just slow.
Okay.
Okay. So now you can click right there, no, over here. Right there, to the left. Right there, where the little circle is. There you go. Click that and give it a minute. There you go. And it's go. There you go. So now you can come down here and type in the search bar, type in soft round.
Thank
you.
Okay, now you've got a flat box up there.
That
There's
was-
nothing.
Yeah, I know. It's just about there. I realized that just a couple minutes ago. I knew we needed to
I
go.
can even get the white box. So,
No, we're not there yet. Just, everybody selected the brush?
I think so.
so,
I did what you
Search bar,
said.
see the search, see the little
Yes.
rectangle that's type in, go in there and type in soft round.
do what now?
Soft round.
Oh, okay.
Got you there?
Done there.
Yeah. Alicia, you okay?
Yep, I've got it. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, are we there? Everybody there? Okay, we're gonna open this file together, okay?
I already have a white box, do I need to get rid of it?
Yes, because I want you to follow me.
Okay. I don't know how it got there.
That's okay.
You're an overachiever.
So did you close it?
Oh, no, how do I close it? Just say follow close?
Yeah,
Um,
or you could click the
Say
X.
changes? No.
No,
Okay, so now we're back at the main menu.
are you here?
No, when I close that white box, it took me back to this homepage. So-
There you go. Well, don't click on the home.
Okay,
That's what took you over there. Maybe.
well, I clicked on file and close.
And it takes me back to home too, but
Okay.
that was another PS. mistake. That's a
I didn't know
logo.
that either.
I thought that was just a logo.
So more mistakes.
It's a phone center.
Yeah.
Okay, we're ready.
All right, file, new.
Oh. So,
No,
Are we
it
there?
doesn't take much.
All right, we're going to, whatever box you're on here, it doesn't really matter. We're gonna come over here and in the width, we're gonna make sure it says pixels. Okay, see that where my,
where are
Cursor
the
is?
boxes come from?
We're changing the pixel.
those are presets.
Oh, so I don't have any of those.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay,
Okay, so just click over here where it's probably says inches and change it to where it says pixels. See
okay.
if you
So
open it
width
up
and
here.
height should be pixels.
Yeah, and
You
we're gonna,
sure?
if you, yeah. Trust me,
Why do you pick pixels?
because I wanted to.
I'm just, if there's a logic, I like inches, maybe that's.
I have my computer glasses on, so I
I
can't,
can
I'm
think
kind
in
of kind of guess where you are. I keep switching between the glasses. but-
I know that's fine with.
Yeah,
Don't be difficult
I
with it.
finally go there and look at the progressives.
well, I got
I
the
love
progressives,
them.
but this is completely different because of my computer glasses. I don't have to
If you get
Read out
trifocal
bottom
progressors, they
like
don't
that.
have that problem.
No, I don't have the center. I can look there, I can look there, I can read.
Oh, okay.
Wonderful. I've had it for 20 years.
Yeah, I heard so many people complained about it. And I was like, I finally got tired of all the different glasses. So.
Okay, we're gonna say 2,500.
2550 is what it defaulted to.
Okay, 2,500.
Wait, what number is that?
That's the width and the height. 20,
Oh, 2,500?
uh-huh,
For both numbers, yes?
yep,
Okay.
On the square, man.
So we want both the width and the height to be 2,500.
yes.
Can I say it too?
Okay, now we're gonna, down here, these others don't really matter, but I've got it at 72 resolution, RGB color 8-bit and white.
And 72 is like the minimum for like Facebook, stuff like that, right?
I always do 300 as a default, but that's just because I default to that. 7,200 gives you a bigger picture.
Well,
So what are we gonna use? Nothing?
70, whatever, I don't really care.
Okay. You don't care.
I don't care. Excuse me. I really just want us to have a box here to work with.
And see, you've got it on landscape, not portrait, and mine, it won't let me switch to landscape. I don't
No.
remember.
It's actually in the middle, it's a square.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine won't,
That's
it
why it's
won't switch to that.
Don't worry about that.
I have all
Just leave it. Just make sure you put 2,500 as the width and the height.
Yeah.
And it should automatically be a square.
I don't have those items on mine.
It's different.
Well, I mean,
You're special.
it's just a box. It doesn't have portraits in it.
Oh, that's okay. Oh, no, you're. How'd you get to there?
I did open and that's what
Oh,
kind
you
of.
should get
After
new.
you get to that screen,
Okay.
because
I
I
don't
can't
think
even read
you
the
should get new.
screen.
You can get over.
Let me
Oh,
show you. Go in
You
your
think?
file,
I'll throw it over
Files.
here
here.
under file,
Start with
Okay.
that.
and then new.
New.
It's actually, go to file from new.
Okay, now this is where we're,
Oh.
yeah, that's where we're.
Interesting.
in.
It's
So
probably a
2,500.
Right here?
Okay, hold on, where it says
Doesn't matter.
inches.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, yes.
And
right.
create.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
create.
then make that 2,500.
Okay.
Almost.
Almost.
Thank you.
Now,
Yeah. then
just for future reference,
2,500 too. Both of them, both of them.
Oh, on each, okay.
just for future reference, the name up here, if you want to create a new preset, you can create a name in here. You can call it whatever you want, and then it will show up as another preset over here.
Oh.
Okay. So if you don't have any presets, which you should, because I didn't put any of these in here. They have presets in here for photos and for prints and for art, for the web. There are all different kind of presets that you can select. I really don't use those. Doesn't mean I shouldn't, but I mean, I should. Doesn't mean, you know. It's just a habit that I've gotten into creating my own. So the thing is, if you're editing images in Photoshop, they're already their size, unless you're going to crop them. So the only time you really use this is if you're creating something that you're going to put your image on. So if you're creating a 16:20 banner or something, then you're going to put your picture in that banner to edit, something like that. Okay. If you're creating a Christmas card or creating a brochure, but if you're just editing your image, it's already sized. It's already got it. When you bring it in here, it's already got its pixels per inch. It's already got all of this stuff is already determined. So this is if you're just creating something new. And all I was doing here is trying to get us a palette to work on. Okay. So now we can click create.
We go with RGB 16-bit and all that, right?
That's fine. Yeah.
Create, or
Yeah, create.
just say, okay.
Just say okay.
How to create.
Okay.
Um,
You're not
I'm
creative.
not
I
happy
guess.
about this.
You
Well,
get
and I noticed it was funny because your create was on the right and close was on the left, and on my computer was just the opposite.
And I didn't have it for that.
It's just to differentiate, just to be
That means you're-
different from one
That's-
back to a
And mine
PC.
disappeared.
I don't know.
There it is.
I just thought that's just funny, there's little oddities like that.
So when we create new brushes later on, hopefully you'll have the ability to do that, even though I can't.
Can you run me real quick on what you have open on the panel? I'll turn some of these off.
To get the key bar with me.
We'll have your-
Oh,
What do you want?
I just have layers and properties. And you also have, yeah, there you go. Now take your properties and drag it.
She does.
Actually, drink, can you drag it all the way down to where it turns blue down here? Right there. Okay, so now it shows up underneath it.
So she comes to the bed.
Oh, this has little people on it,
There's little people on it.
like a landscape and a portrait.
Okay, so we have selected our brush. Okay, let's take the brush and let's make it, I don't know, let me see. Let's make our brush about, let's make it about 300 pixels. So you know how to do that?
Use the slider or just put,
You can do it a couple ways. You can go back over here and just type it in if you want to do that. Or you can come over here and you can do Alt Control and push it left or right until you get to 300. And you can see the pixels up there on your banner type thing, whatever that's called. See the number of pixels? Okay, you need to come up and change this to normal. It's very trouble. That's why you don't like it. Noisy looking thing. Okay, so press on your
Control.
Alt. And now click and go up and down. Whoop. Okay, keep those elevated. And you just click and go left and right. It's not working.
Yeah, mine didn't work. It started creating copies.
Yeah, when I had control, it makes copies too.
Why is mine working? Yours doesn't.
Maybe it's Windows.
It must be a feature that Mac has. No, I'm just kidding. Maybe there's a preference. I don't know, but I've been using it forever.
When something doesn't work the way yours work, you say it's a preference.
Now, what are we trying to change to 300?
Size.
The size.
Oh, yeah. So the very top, toolbar, you could go up there and type it in. That little stamp. But he's showing us a way to do it quicker.
Actually, you click on the toolbar and it opens up the panel. So you can click right there.
Right here.
And then just change size to 300. You can type it in.
Bob, you can also right click and it pulls it up on your page, your if you right click,
Right click on the page.
yeah, and it'll pull
Oh.
up that panel.
There you go. Good one. Thank you. I didn't know
I
that.
stumbled across it in the last minute.
All right, so what were we doing when we started this?
Okay.
We're trying to get the size
The size.
to 300.
300.
Okay, so did everybody hear Felicia?
No,
She said if you clicked on the white image,
If you right click while you have your brush, it opens the brush panel.
okay.
So you can just do it right there. See, how cool is that? See, I learned things too.
And what is that white square called?
What's the white square called?
Yeah, so you gotta click on the,
Click on the image.
oh, that's it. a white
We're
square.
calling that an image, yeah. Or the canvas, or whatever you want to call it. Typically, it would be your image.
She did.
Yeah, what would you call it? To get the brush
Brush panel.
hand.
And then you could change it to 300. I can't believe you can't do that with the command control because it's so. Option control. Yeah, there we go. I was gonna say, that's not working either.
So maybe it's shift on ours, not, and he said option. We don't have an option, so.
No, but Alt is the same as Option on
Oh,
PC.
alt is the same as option, okay.
Yeah. Control, so it should work.
The rotating button works on the sides. Once the window's up and you hold it over the side, you can make it go up and down if you rotate around.
You mean-
Rotating button.
Right click and then right here?
You know, you're on the image, the brush size,
Yeah,
and then you hold it over the word size, and it'll make it be,
I don't know what,
pixel size go up and down.
I don't know what you're saying.
When you open up the brushes,
Okay, right there,
and you said where the size is on the top,
right there.
hold it over the word size.
Uh-huh. And a scrubby slider.
Scrub
Oh,
it.
it's going through.
Okay,
You can scrub your numbers easier. than
okay.
Type in. That's the only thing I found that will scrub
Hmm.
so far.
Well, I would look at shortcut for changing your brush size,
Yeah, we'll look at it.
because that's, it should work, and I'm not sure, like I said, it could be a preference. But I'm sure it's not because you're all
I've
on
done it
PC.
before, but somehow, I know in Lightroom, stuff is like this.
It may be something to do with the way the brush is set too. No, because we're all using the same brush. Okay, anyway. Everybody have a 300 size brush,
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
okay? And the softness, we didn't talk about softness. I want the softness to be 0. Or hardness, however you want to say it.
Yeah. It's like,
There.
wait.
Okay, you got that?
Sure.
Okay, opacity 100%, flow 100%.
Yeah.
You just press 0 and shift 0. I should make sure that they're both 100%, or you can just look at them and see.
What, what?
This, this.
Yeah, wait. They're, okay, they're at 100%, right?
Right.
Okay. got it.
Okay, all right, okay. You okay?
I'm just. I'm taking her home with me. because
No,
she's-
I'm
she's-
Let me just show you where. Yeah, you got it. That's where I had to check on them. Opacity.
Okay.
I said, blind leading the blind.
Okay. I want you to come over here and click and drag across like that.
Click what again?
Click and drag it across.
Oh,
Oh, I did backwards.
Yeah, black, I'm sorry. Make sure, just press D on your keyboard, make sure it's default.
click what again?
Just
Oh.
D on your keyboard,
Oh,
make sure that
oh,
you're at
for
black.
drag.
And then you click and drag.
Why don't I have any color?
And reverse it. Are you 100 and 100?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Oh, Lord.
Okay. You click and drag. No, you don't need to be anymore.
Just click your mouse.
Click and drag.
Oh,
Oh, hang on.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like I should be in a special.
Certainly not in the black.
Oh, you're not on the brush. You're on the eraser tool. So you're erasing.
Well, I'm darn good at it. I mastered that part.
So we need to B for the brush, and you also don't have the brush selected up here. We need to go to the brush to get the color replacement tool. Okay, now you're ready.
Okay.
No, you just need a, yeah.
Click and drag.
Patience
Oh,
overhaul.
look at that. Yay. I can go home now. I learned something.
Okay, so I don't think you're at 100% or 0% hardness though. Do you know how to change that?
We'll do that. Okay, right. Right click. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
There we go.
And just change it 50, and change it to 0.
And the sign is 300.
Yeah,
okay.
Okay.
and you right click again, because her size had changed. Right click again. On that box. Okay, now change that number to 300.
300.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's just changing the size of your brush and changing how hard it is. Okay. All right, are we ready now for the next one?
Yeah.
I want you to change the opacity to 50%. So just press a 5. Okay.
Just anywhere in there?
Just press 5 and it should change it to 50%. See how easy that
It's a
is?
miracle.
It's a
I
miracle
didn't know that's what I wanted to change.
because I told it. It's a miracle. Okay, then I click and drag again. And this time you only paint 50%, right?
Mhm.
That's really.
No, mine did 5%. Why is it
Oh,
doing?
Yeah, mine's fine
just,
too.
just press 5.
I can see without it real handy.
So should we be at 5% or 50%?
50%. If you press 5.
Mine says 50%.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Said 5%.
5 is 50%. 05 is 5%. So if you want to do 5%, you hit 05 and you don't do O and then wait a minute and hit 5. You have to do them right together. So if you want to get
So just let it
exact,
go below 10%, we won't have a problem.
One, do one for 1%. I mean, for 10%.
unless you want 55%. Okay, in fact, we'll do that. Let's go 15%. So press 1-5 fairly quickly together.
Look at that.
Isn't that amazing? Hey, I can use Photoshop now.
Did you?
I'm
graduated.
graduating.
Mine's your
Mine's
I'm not graduated. I make gradual looking like.
Yeah, we'll see here in a little bit. All right, click and drag. And you have 15%.
Yeah, cool.
Okay, good? Are we good? Okay. Now what I want to do is I want you to change the hardness to 50%. Okay, can you do that?
Mhm.
You said 50%.
Yep.
Okay.
And I want you to change the opacity to 25%.
Change the opacity to what?
25.
Okay.
And I want you to click and drag. Notice how it's not as soft on the edge as it was.
Mhm.
Right.
And of course, it's a little darker because it's 25%, not 15. I'm just want you to go through these exercises because it's good to get a feel for how to do that. So let's make it the hardness 100%. And let's make opacity 75. And click and drag. Notice how sharp that edge is.
Mhm.
Now notice also that at 100% with a round brush, you have these little humps that go along the edge.
Mhm.
So that's just one of the nuances of working with a round brush, because it's just a bunch of circles that are added together and they're not packed enough in there to give you a straight line across that edge. So one of the ways to get around that is actually take it down to about 80%. And it won't be quite as hard, but you won't have the bumps on there either. Okay,
80%.
Just a-
Hardness.
yeah, just a, and then that's kind of a
There a quick button for hardness? Just a shortcut.
right click and change the hardness.
Thank you.
Thank you, Felicia, again. Got it?
Mhm.
Okay. Are we good?
Mhm.
All right. Now, what I want you to do, I guess you don't have the history panel. Do Command Z until everything goes away.
Man, what?
Command Z.
Control Z.
Oh, Control Z.
Yeah, you might be talking PC because that's all we got.
My wife has a PC, and whenever I have to go help her, it's like, oh God, how do I do that now? It's only been 8 years.
Doesn't take long once you cross over.
I know, and it was Windows 7 when I quit.
Oh my
So
God.
now there's 10, 8, and 10, whatever.
I think 11 in there.
Years ago.
Think-
Yeah,
Actually, it was a good platform. So,
Yeah, I know. My wife didn't want to get out of it. And I finally talked her into going to 8.
Oh, that was a nightmare.
Yeah, that's what she
That was
says.
better.
Now we're in what,
Anybody using
Well,
11 yet?
I have no
11? Yeah, I have it on my desktop.
idea. Okay,
Neither one of my computers can take it, so.
Oh, really?
mhm.
I guess
The,
time to upgrade.
yeah, well, and I was just kind of looking. I mean, my desktop is still fine.
I don't see.
But I was
any-
just browsing the other day, just looking at desktops with what I want, boy, computer prices have gone way from what they were. I mean, more, because computer prices really have dropped over the years when you really think about it. And I think this one, I'm thinking I got it in 2015 or 2016. This is my processor. It's an AMD Ryzen processor. This is my processor. Won't take long. It's a gaming computer, so it's got the high-end processor.
Yeah, I used to build my own computers. Go to Fry's,
Mhm.
get the,
No, that's the worst place
Get
to
the
get,
box.
that's the worst place to get parts.
well, they
How
went
about
out of business too.
Airbrush? Yeah.
I go get a motherboard and I'd probably have to get like 3 times before I finally get one that worked. And
That's
that-
why you never get stuff, you would never get stuff.
It's
My-
cheap,
My
though.
son worked there for a while,
They were cheap.
and he said, what they did, somebody bring back a motherboard, it didn't work, a memory or a
Box
processor,
it up, put it back in.
and they just box it up and put it right back on the shelf.
Well, I used to get drives there a lot cheaper. They used to have a lot of drives. On
Yeah,
sale.
there's certain things that was okay, but like the real guts of the computer, motherboard, processor, memory.
I could build one for like, $300.
Yeah,
That's back when they cost about $700-800.
but when I first went to Raytheon, they didn't have a computer for me, because they bought. What was the Cal computers that went out of business?
Oh,
Anyway,
yeah. I can't remember what they're called.
they didn't have one.
2
and-
cows or something.
Yeah, they said, but we got parts to build one. And I was like, well, I've been wanting to do that anyway. So I was like, let me, and I used that computer for like 6 or 8 months.
Yeah.
And then after that, I bought the parts to build my son a computer for Christmas one year, so.
That's what I did. I built it for my grandkids.
Yeah.
When they came over, one of our bedrooms was set up with 3 computers in there, all set apart. And they could go in there and they'd play games and we just sit in there and relax.
And I'm like, I can build my own, I just don't do it anymore. I just don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I supported it for so long. I just,
HP has a way you can custom order anything you want, just because it's not on their website. You get all of somebody, I've custom ordered this, like 7
well,
years
yeah,
ago,
but,
and they shipped it from China exactly where I wanted.
oh yeah, you can always custom,
And it wasn't,
Build it,
it
but-
wasn't that much more than if I were to buy one.
right, no, I went to Dell site and processed. I used to always be
Yeah, same
HP,
thing
but
with
I'm so
my-
much happier with the Dell at a shop.
Well, my son just did that.
Big,
Oh.
get it back smaller.
Just a second, Felicia.
Mhm.
Sorry.
How do I get it back smaller again?
Control minus.
Uh,
Right here.
That one?
There you go. And control 0 puts it on your screen. Control 1 makes it 100%. Control 0 fits the screen.
Thank
you. Okay. Okay, we kind of got off base there for a minute, but now what we're going to do, I want you to set your opacity at, I'll leave it at 75%. Let's set your flow to 10%. So that'd be shift 1.
Shift 1.
And your flow should be,
10%.
flow should be at 10% and your opacity should be at 75.
Oh, isn't that cute?
It knows that it's opacity because you're using shift. And,
It knows that it's flow because you're using shift.
oh, I'm sorry. And,
So that's not working for me.
It's not working for you?
If I
So
hit shift 1, it should change it, and it's not changing it. Are we sure it's shift?
Shift 1 should take you directly, should change the flow to 10%.
No.
Okay.
Let me highlight it, shift 1. Nope.
No, you shouldn't have to highlight it, but if shift,
Where
what percentage?
If it's not working for you, for now, just type it in there as 10%. But it's- I would
Oh,
look,
I'm so sorry.
I would look at it to try to find out, maybe
Oh,
Google it. or something.
Okay, you know what? I was using the keypad, the number pad over here and it wasn't working, but when I switched to using the one above the letters on the actual
Okay,
keypad, the typing pad, I guess, not the number pad.
okay,
Then it worked. Okay,
okay, that's weird.
that is weird. Maybe I have my number locks on.
It must be preferences.
Yeah, no, it's not working. Yeah, I have to go here. Okay, that's working. Okay, good.
Okay,
I got it.
that thinks it's preferences, so just, I
Maybe.
thought I'd pass that on.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I learned.
Okay, so we have opacity at 75, flow at 10. I want you to click and drag and keep clicked and drag back and drag back. And notice how it's getting darker and darker as you drag across it.
You left your hardness to
Yeah, I didn't bother the hardness. That's why you got that little
circle.
circle look. Okay, but it never gets above 75%. So you keep, as long as you don't let up on your mouse, you keep going back and forth, it's painting 10% each time.
So
up
I'm
to-
using a pen and the harder I push, the darker it gets.
Oh, so you're, okay,
To the 10% of the time.
Until it reaches the 75.
Whatever you have set the maximum.
so you must have pen pressure set or something.
Yeah, I'm trying to learn. No, it's not.
Oh, what wrong?
I was thinking maybe one of these, that's for opacity. Right there. So I was thinking maybe that's pushing harder. The point here is to understand that flow paints a little at a time, but it never gets above opacity. Okay. So now let's change your opacity to 100% by pressing 0. And change your flow to 20% by pressing Shift 2.
On opacity, you don't have to have a key in front of the shortcut, you just put the number.
And a 0 is 100%.
And what did we change the flow to?
To, what did I say, 20%? Shift 2, we'll change it. Excuse me. And then do it again. Just drag across, drag across. This time it's laying 20% at a time. And it goes until it gets up to 100%
How do you know when it's 100%?
because it's black.
But there's no readout anywhere that tells you, right?
No, but the point of using flow, excuse me, is so you can lay it down a little at a time until you get the color that you want, or the darkness that you want, the amount of ink that you want. That's the point of flow. You probably, the reason for setting opacity on that is to protect yourself. Because if you wanted it at 100%, you would probably just set flow at 100% and paint over it. But if you wanted to have the ability to paint a little at a time, then that's what you use the flow for. Okay? Excuse me. We're going to change the softness now. And we're going to go to about 20% softness, just for grins, to make it harder for everybody. We'll set opacity to 90% by pressing 9,
Would you say hardness was 20?
20.
And flow, we're gonna do
Flow, we're going to set at 10%, so Shift 1.
So what did you say, 10%?
Okay?
What'd you say opacity was?
Opacity is
Oh, 90.
90%. so just
90,
press
okay.
9. Okay, you ready? All right, we're going to do it again. This is going to be softer. See, it's laying only 10% at a time. And every time we go over it again, it gets darker, darker, until it gets up to 90%. Now, the difference between 90 and 100, I don't know if you'd be able to tell that or not, but there you go. That's pretty much as dark as it gets. Okay. So we're not, I mean, I'm just trying to go through these exercises so you get a feel for how it works. Okay.
So would it be fair to say if you have your opacity at 90 and your flow at 10 and you're trying to reach, you know, and I mean, 9 passes, then you would have your opacity, right?
Pretty much. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And again, the point is that your opacity keeps you from painting more than you want to, and your flow allows you to paint it a little at a time.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna write that down.
All right.
That was learned since
Well, I hope so.
on the history, you can click on one more button and take it right backwards again.
Yeah.
Can you
Yeah.
say that one more time? So the flow allows you to paint a little at a time, and the opacity
Opacity
control.
will protect you from painting more
Too
than that
much.
opacity, that opaque.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can't paint more than 90% unless you let up and paint again. But if you keep your pen down and continue to paint, you'll never paint more than 90%.
Okay. Keeps you from painting too much.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a
Okay.
way to protect yourself.
Okay.
All right. Now I have some more exercises to do. But I was thinking about a break. We haven't had a break, and you got to leave. I don't know when you got to leave.
I'm gonna stay maybe till 4.
Okay. Do we want to do a break or we want to continue?
Break is fine.
Break, 10-minute break? We haven't had a break yet.
Okay, you need a break.
Okay, break time, 10 minutes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay. See you.
Okay, so Bob, here's my question.
Okay.
Because I don't know, you know, how to use clone tools and all that kind of stuff. But let's say you had a photo of this bag right here.
Okay.
And you want to remove the A&M emblem,
Mhm.
right? And you could, I know with yours goes, you could do that with a brush, right? But the key would be like matching the color, right? Getting the color to match. And that's probably something you deal with all the time, right? Getting the color palette to match whatever you're brushing out, right?
Right. Actually, it's more than just the color because you have texture in there too.
Oh,
So you got that texture that you have to cut, and that's where the clone tool comes in. Instead of just painting over it with color, if I painted over that with color, it would maintain this, or it would be a blob of color across there. It wouldn't have any texture to it at all.
Okay.
So if you wanted to have texture, you could keep this texture, but you would have the A&M texture on there too. It'd have to be a different way. It wouldn't be with, it would be painting with a brush, but it's a special technique. You could do that. So if I wanted to get rid of that, I would do either content aware fill, which is everybody's great thing for getting rid of something, or I would have to clone some of this texture over there. If you see that texture is kind of going like this.
Yeah.
So I would have to maintain that kind of texture going across like that. And that
Is
might-
anyone allergic to cats?
Is it what?
Is anyone allergic to cats?
No.
All right, I'm gonna let some,
What is this door?
Because, you know, the time that I have had to ask somebody else.
You wanna go
say,
outside,
"Oh,
outside?
can you-" I was taking a good picture, and I should have been in the
Oh,
picture.
okay.
And then I said, can you?
Yeah, just
like,
yeah,
and
come back
the
in,
people
just
who know
do it.
Photoshop, ooh, they do that so easily. And then I took a photo of a family, but they were standing right in front of a big chip of paint. You know, and it was like maroon, it was like a maroon barn, you know, with a big chip of paint right at the head. And I said, can you please tell me? Of course, somebody, boom, you know, they fix it like that. And I'm just like, it's so second nature to some people, like you know, and others of us, we think, oh my God. You know.
Well, I've been using Photoshop for something like that, a long time. And in the beginning, I had no idea what I was doing, and I was not a good photographer, and I was always trying to find a way to fix a photograph rather than doing it right.
Yes, yes.
So I learned a lot of cloning, I learned a lot of coloring, I learned all that kind of stuff out of necessity to make my picture look halfway decent. And now I use it for other things, but
Because you're still doing all the Rockwall sports and stuff, right?
yeah.
You're a friend, have you seen?
And of course, with the photos I take, family stuff or whatever,
He loves
it's on,
everybody.
just use the Canon software, whatever that's on the, and if it needs Photoshop, it's too bad. But it's something I need to learn.
Yeah, well, one of the things that is very common is, it was head replacement. You have, I used to shoot for Paris Christian Academy, and I shot I would shoot their homecoming, and this was out on the field. I would shoot the court, and it's not just the court, it's the entire senior class, which is usually around 30 people, and then you have the court and all that kind of, this is about 50 kids. And there's a place on their field where it slopes up, so it's real good. They all stand there. I'm up on a ladder, and I don't know if you've ever tried to shoot 50 people. It's like herding cats, especially with kids. No offense. But you never have a situation where somebody's eyes are not closed, their head's turned over here, and I'm over here going, okay, everybody look at me, and then I'll shoot off about 10 pictures. And that's the way I do a head replacement. I'd say this guy's got his head turned this way, and then the next picture he looked like this, and I just take his head away there and put this picture in. That happens all the time.
Yeah.
It would always happen when I was shooting that. But I've had family. I had my sister-in-law one time. We took these 4 pictures, and you could see, I don't know if I got his name, Uncle Joe was not looking good in this picture, but we love it of everybody else. So could you take this picture of him and put it over there? Yeah, takes about 10 minutes.
So I'll email my photos to you and I'll pay you for doing it. Yeah, because inevitably, somebody has their eyes shut or,
But you have to have the camera real still and make sure that you're shooting and everybody else
There
is.
you have it,
Space.
yeah.
She left that in the bathroom if you want.
The idea is that you take that picture of them and put it out and move it over here on this one when they got their head like that, their eyes closed.
Huh?
And it fits all around everything. You just kind of smooth it out.
They're trying to find a home for it, but until then,
I'm gonna get there one day.
It's
I
not that
think
hard.
he's got that, is FILB positive or something. But
What's happening?
it's that feline leukemia,
Oh,
but it doesn't cause him any real problem.
All right, I'll talk to you later. All right, bye.
All right, the next thing we can do.
Okay, we're gone now.
We're gonna go through some exercises where I'm gonna say, now I want you to paint this and make your own decisions about the hardness and the size and the color and all that.
okay.
And then, after you do that, we'll do 2 pictures like this, and after we do that, then we're gonna go to some real life pictures.
So on this tablet, when I'm using the pen, the size changes based on the pressure of the pen.
Okay.
That is Nina.
I could just do that. I think I'm gonna do this. Is that how-
And you have this regular soft round brush?
Yes.
He's
Well, that's
big,
what
isn't he?
So heavy.
Yes.
I bet he's 16, 18 pounds.
Do you put
Well, he's
on
16
settings
pounds.
there?
I got a cat that big as one.
Next to it. Next to it.
Nina weighs 16 pounds.
I thought this was.
No,
She is,
no, right next to it.
oh my
Yeah, right
God, she's
there.
a chunk. She just
Good.
is. He's about the same, I think.
So I just have turned on.
Is that a different cat from before, Chris?
Huh?
Is that a different cat from, that was there the last
What you're
time?
saying.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I'll turn it off now when you go back and do that. It shouldn't do it. Still kind of does. Oh, we still got shape on it. That's the
Oh, it keeps
thing.
turning itself back on. Watch this. Turn it off. It's off. Turn it off.
Now Gene and Chris got to,
That's still on.
PC, okay?
I don't know what that is, Cal.
So what you would have to do is turn it off and then come over here and click this. Now, this is gonna be something. I'm gonna do later.
Turn this off and then
Come over here and click the little, no, go hang with it. Right there. New brush preset and fit a new one and then use that.
We're just gonna override its honorary.
No, you can change the name to Pat's new brush or something. Pat's new soft brush.
Oh, yeah? How you doing?
Don't call me a knucklehead. Knucklehead. What you did there, save that, the new brush preset,
Uh-huh.
I can't do it.
Because
That's not in my version, I can't do it. Ooh, rubbing this, there you go.
Yeah, stink all over it and goes home. Got any cuts?
Me?
Oh, you know, my cat gets jealous. I come home smelling like cats after photograph of my cat. But where have you been? Like being married.
Yeah, whose perfume is on you?
Does that work? I don't
Perfume
know.
and lipstick.
Oh, it's still same thing?
depending on how I press,
Chris, if you.
soft press,
I know it.
hard press.
Yeah, I got a picture of
Do
it.
it again.
One time we were up here using my lap and I've got my computer and you see out there, I said, he's enjoying the Photoshop class.
We like to give us ears scratch.
Who's
Let's see if I
enjoying
got
it?
it turned on.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I've got a picture of it.
That is weird.
Some-
Sitting in my
Somebody likes
lap,
to
watching the Photoshop.
Somebody scratching my ear, here.
Oh, because you still have that brush.
Back there.
You still got that name on there.
Oh, okay, cancel that.
Cute.
And then so,
So go to, go see if you got Pat's new brush up. There you go. So that's what you got selected. So why did it come over that one? That's interesting.
of course, you know, I do the mouse, it's consistent. I was just trying to force myself to learn how to use this.
Well, that's a feature. I mean, it is a feature of the tablet.
Okay.
but Christine's coming
Pushing
back.
down harder can either make it paint more, or it can make it change the size, or
Is
both.
Jeannie coming back?
Jean,
Jeannie, is she coming back?
yeah, she went out to get some coffee. She got some coffee in the car.
Oh, tell her my mom will always toss a chair. I got more water here if you don't need it. Brett?
Yeah,
I'm
I'll
good
take
for
another one. Yeah.
I'm good for now.
Take a look. This is kind of-
Sure.
I'm good.
You're good?
Yes.
Good, because this is the last one.
Well, somebody asked me that,
No,
I'm not saying that.
There's some over there too, in case anybody's desperate.
I was telling them a while ago that next thing we're gonna do is, we've got some stuff out there, some templates. I'm gonna ask you to paint, and you're gonna make your own decisions, how hard, soft, or big, or small, or whatever,
Okay.
okay? And it'll just give you a chance to try to get used to it. You're still gonna be doing circles and squares, but then we're gonna get into some real pictures.
Okay.
It makes sense. But I think it's gonna make it easier when we get into the real pictures for you to know what to do. You understand?
That's good, that's good to know.
No, you got your friend.
I don't like the ears scratch.
No. Yeah, he's real friendly. Very, very friendly.
Brush. Brush. I get the brush out, slide it, finish the story.
Oh,
So should we go ahead and control read this?
We're gonna close it. We don't need it
Close it.
anymore.
Okay, I have a dumb question. Do you close from here or here? I don't want to close that.
No, you just want, so you have a tab up here.
Oh.
You don't want to say.
I would not recognize that as a tab.
You could also just go to File, Close,
Okay,
and it would done the same thing. We can go ahead and open, we're gonna open a file, and these are gonna be the files that I sent you. So wherever you have those stored,
So can we go to our Google Drive to get that?
Those files we have.
these are the files that I put out there.
Oh, there's them. I could not figure out how was making them. What do you think?
Will they drop in from the Google Drive?
I couldn't get them to, I had to download them on my computer.
Which one is it called?
Do you want us to go ahead and open all of them?
I want you to open the, which one is it? The blue and yellow TIFF.
Oh, did you spot that?
It looks like this.
Blue and yellow? Oh,
Blue.
I don't see the images, I have to see the file name. You know what the file name is?
Blue and yellow TIFF.
Oh,
Boy, it's getting colder out there.
It's actually not the one I wanted, but we can leave it open because we're gonna use it in just a minute. So,
Are we opening a different one?
Well,
I
I said
have,
it downloaded, but it didn't download.
we're gonna do painting with brushes TIFF. So you can have them both open, it doesn't matter.
I don't think I have that file. Was that before I came to this class?
Nope, they were part of the Google Drive.
I don't remember.
No, it zipped them up.
Oh, did?
Yeah.
What did I miss?
Well, he said to go ahead and close that out.
Close it?
Yeah, and I did it after he showed me to close it there. Yeah.
But I don't
And now
show
we're
any
looking for the,
downloads.
don't save it. And then we're
Right,
looking for
just do
one of
this.
the files he sent us, he emailed
Can I
them.
just copy all
Yeah, I
this?
did that.
Maybe
You
we
can
can
enter
get it on
in
that
just your
flash
brushes,
drive.
the
and get it
brushes
on
for
there.
it.
No, it's still
Or you
preparing
can
to
have a lot of
download.
renders stuff.
Yeah, it zipped it, so see, it's in the downloads, but it zipped it right there, so.
Well, it's still showing them zipping, because I tried to download again and then I noticed it was zipping and it's still zipping. I don't know why it takes so long.
Please.
There's a
Well, I got
folder,
two-
Jeannie,
I got
there's-
two of them going.
there's lots of stuff on there, but it's the folder that says brushes.
Brushes.
Yeah.
That's pretty self-explanatory.
It's a folder that says brushes?
Not there. I'm giving her the jump drive that says. brushes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No. I put a folder on that.
Alicia, you got the files?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, good.
Apple brushes, all right.
No,
Got them?
now I gotta unzip it.
You know how to unzip?
mine's still preparing.
Waiting on it.
Okay.
Do I know how to unzip?
Well,
Come on, Bob.
actually, what that's gonna do, I knew.
The fun part of making it, that's the
Brush
question.
is there. Blue and.
And then do what with it when I have this whole menu open?
I need you to,
Say again, I'm sorry.
have you copied it to your computer?
No.
Yeah, just copy it, copy the folder to your computer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Blue, yellow chip, right?
Yes, and painting with brushes. Painting with brushes is what I'm gonna do first. And then we do the note.
Oh. that's what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
So if you go, sorry, what's the cat's name?
So.
Okay. So if you just do a download, you can,
Well, it's still preparing to download. Doesn't seem-
Really?
It's zipping the file.
Well, as soon as Gene's
Okay.
done with
I don't
that,
know
I'll
what
or
you're
Brett's
doing,
done with
because
it,
I
you know,
didn't tell you to do anything.
you can just download them here. There's a folder in there called brushes. You can have everything you want in there, but brushes is in there.
Aha.
There's not any of those kind of things in there. I would never bring,
That's on a
those-
different drive.
would never bring those with me. Got it?
Including all the Tiff, and there's another.
This is. really
Brushes,
strange.
working, what's it called? Painting with brushes. Yeah, that's actually the one we're gonna start with.
Under the brush. That's it.
Are we ready?
No,
No?
I only got one file from your drive.
yeah, it's like it's just really strange. It said it was create a zip file, but then it's
There.
got all these different Photoshop files.
Next time we'll do it ahead of time.
I thought we all had them, but then I guess I didn't
I
ask the
just, I
question right.
didn't see until right when I was about to leave. I was afraid it's gonna be late.
That also has the shortcut file in there.
I saw that.
I didn't
Okay.
have that initially in the Google Drive, and I added it a little later, so this way you got, make sure you get them all.
Okay, see, it's here, right? And I've clicked on it, right? But I don't know.
Okay, there's a couple, there's like 3 or 4 different ways to open that folder. Okay.
Oh, we're opening in Photoshop. Okay.
Yeah.
So you
Just
know,
teasing
yeah.
you.
Okay, now I don't want to screw up, but it's, okay, I'm listening to you.
Okay, so in Photoshop, you open Photoshop, this is the typical way to do it.
Oh, I just shrunk it. But it seems to be, see, I mean, it looks like, see all those that are just shrunk? It looks like it ought to pop back up. Oh, okay, there. it is.
Yeah, just a little slow.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of space like I'm like. It's not
The
my
only
fault.
reason why we have this at home is because our daughter plays Sims on it. That's the only reason why we
She
have
pays what?
it. She has Sims on there.
Oh, okay.
And loves playing Sims, and so, because I always use the desktop, you know, and then the other laptops are Chromebooks.
That hurts when you do that.
So I don't know, I don't know,
Sorry.
I don't know if it's a Chromebook. So anyway, I'll follow when this comes up.
Okay, just do file open and then navigate to that folder and open it.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, and do your, okay.
First, you need to jump drive or?
Well, I think it's gonna work.
It's taking forever to
Eventually, it's.
download it to my desktop.
In case it doesn't.
I should have
Okay.
brought my other computer.
Did you finish with mine?
It's still working.
Oh, it is?
58%.
Wow.
I know, right?
Oh, you guys need a Mac, I'm telling you.
Okay, so it says, I did this wrong, it says painting with brushes, but it's trying to open it with Windows Photo Viewer, and I don't want to do that, do I? I want to do it.
It's probably because you double clicked on it and it's trying to open it. You want to get in a cage?
I don't know what was in there. Maybe another cat. Maybe he had to be locked up for some reason for a bit. No, you need a real home, don't you? You do.
Have y'all already done the pen tool?
I have never used the pen tool.
That's, when I was in Joe Blythe's class last year, he swears by it. He doesn't do it. I can't remember a thing.
A lot of people do swear by it. It's a different way of selecting something. And actually, I got the new Glenn Lewis book on selections. And I got to the part where it's the pen tool and I stopped because I want to be in front of a computer when I'm doing it. And I just got so busy, I hadn't gone back to it. he says, I can teach you the pen tool in just a few minutes. So he also has a video on his YouTube where he says he can teach you the pen tool. So I will learn it. And what it does is it makes a different kind of selection. It makes a path rather than a pixel-based selection. All right.
All righty then.
Okay, so now I have that on my desktop. Now what do I do with it?
You need to do it. Go back to Photoshop.
Back to Photoshop.
Mhm.
Okay,
And then File, open. Go to File, open in Photoshop.
file, open.
Mhm. And then navigate to that folder wherever you saved it. And we want to open Painting with Brushes.
That says new brush.
Should be one that says Painting with Brushes.
Oh, right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Still hard to see, so I'm sorry. Almost.
Oh, look at that.
See,
I was
that's it?
wondering how you got all that up there.
So you
It's
already did it?
magic. I love it.
So wait, the phone.
Think back there. Think back there. Think back there.
All right, what I want you to do with this, we'll go ahead, Chris can catch up in a minute. What I want you to do with this is I want you to paint the square green, I want you to paint the circle blue. And then on the cross, I want you to paint opposite sides the same color. And I don't care what color you choose.
Circle.
The circle is blue and the square is what?
Square is green, circle is, I wrote down purple.
How about you, Felicia? What'd you write down?
Well, I didn't write anything down. The circle is blue.
Okay, I forgot what I said because I was making it up as I went. All right, here we go.
Okay,
Square is green, circle is blue,
yes.
okay? And with a cross, I want opposites to be the same color, and I don't care what colors they are.
Okay.
Opposites across the diagonal?
Yes,
Okay, whatever color we want.
and just I just decide on your own how hard you need it, how big you need it, what opacity you want to use, and so on.
Square was green. I was waiting for him, he was trying his best to open the document.
Green and blue.
Green and blue.
Do we have
Green
to
and
make,
blue.
do we have to make a selection?
You do it however you think.
How do you stay in the line?
We haven't talked about selections. We're talking about brushes,
Well, so we have to stay in the lines by ourselves.
color in the lines. That's right. I thought about that.
Still
when I was
want us
creating this.
This is like
You still want us to use the soft round though?
Whatever you decide to use.
Oh, we can do whatever we want.
You can do
Okay.
whatever you want. You can make it 100% hard. You can make it 50% hard. You can make it whatever. You can make it a 50% opacity. I don't care.
Same brush we've been using though.
Yeah, the same brush.
Okay,
you've been
same
using.
brush. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, this is a problem I'm having, even without this, it says could not complete your request because it's not the right kind of document, okay? And that's when I'm trying to go over here and then open, you know, because it looks like it's still zipped right here. See,
Okay.
It looks like it's still zipped.
Okay.
So now I'm plugging this in over here, right?
Okay.
And I don't know where, I guess it's USB, okay, brushes.
Yep.
Okay, so came with brushes, I know that's what I need, right?
Right.
Okay, but I gotta download it first, yes?
Right, just copy that brush. All you need to do is go back to brushes here and drag that to wherever you want to copy it.
Okay.
I'm making happy circle.
Drag that folder, right?
Yeah, just drag that folder. You can put on your desktop, you know, wherever you want to save it. Put on your desktop for now and put it somewhere else later, or throw it away when you're done. or something.
I can't get this little blue circle to stop.
Now, are you wanting us to use the little trick like
I don't
Get in
care.
the corners, or
I don't care.
you don't care,
I don't care.
whatever we can do,
Do what you've learned today, though. Don't do anything extra.
okay?
No, no using the circle tool.
No, 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 no.
Can't use the fill tool.
You can't use anything except what you learned today.
Opacity,
Circle is blue.
Circle's blue.
is the opacity darker when it's higher?
Yes. 100% means everything.
It's salt. Why aren't you doing that? I'm not getting that. Oh, it's a soft brush. So we would want to brush.
Nope, you use the same brush.
Use a soft brush?
Use that soft brush. Yep. You don't have, it doesn't have to be soft, but you can use use a soft brush. If
Well,
that
I
makes
can't-
sense.
I can't just stamp it that color.
No. No other
You can't-
tools.
I mean, I did, but it didn't come out, it came out like sun.
If you want to, you can just stamp it.
I am not good at staying in the lines.
You I'll tell you what, none of you will be able to color it in without getting out of the lines.
No shit.
Okay, thank you.
But I want you to try.
I didn't
What if
try
you have
very
to
good.
take that tool and squash it?
I was doing real good
No,
until you
it's
made that comment, and then I got out of the line.
No, you can't use the
Don't go-
eraser, you have to use undo. If you want to back
I'm
up,
in a meeting.
Start all over.
I'll start all over.
Yeah.
Yikes.
It's gonna be hard because especially the circle.
I'll send you a picture of mine when it's done. How's that on Messenger?
What's a scratch disc?
Scratch disk is where it goes whenever you're out of memory. And so it continues to run. Instead of saving stuff in memory, it goes to your scratch disk and save it there.
Oops.
Okay? What is your scratch disk?
I didn't know what scratch.
No, I
disc
mean, okay, you determine which disk is your scratch disk. That's what I meant. So you only have the
Well, it's.
internal disk, so that's your scratch disk. So
Do you
you're,
have any,
The scratch disc is, do you have 2 drives in that laptop?
or it could be split,
There's a backup.
and split with-
But I mean, do you have?
This is not leave, open that door.
I'm not talking about a backup drive, like an external drive. Do you have 2 drives in your computer?
No.
You have any, in cards?
Y'all work on that and I'll see what I can figure out.
your scratch disk is, excuse me, you determine where that is in your preferences. And if you have more than one drive, you can,
That's
excuse me,
why I thought if she's got like a small boot drive, and if the scratch disc is on there and it's full, then you're gonna run out.
right. At home, my scratch disk is an attached external drive. It's an SSD external drive. All right, we're gonna go 10 more minutes. Then we're gonna move on. And I'm not gonna embarrass myself by showing you how I would do on this.
And this computer just did like sitting on it, and so then it's 82%.
Sent you mine in, make sure I had it right in Messenger. I sent you a picture of mine.
Okay,
That angle thing. is cool. It's not perfect, but it's close.
okay.
I hope it doesn't have to be very perfect. I mean,
It's only as perfect as you need it to be. I mean, just pretend like you're doing this for a client.
yeah, I
you're
would
doing
not
it-
turn this over to somebody that.
The point here, excuse me, the point here is to learn how you need to change your brush as you're painting different areas. In this case, most of what you're brushing, you'll need to have a harder brush. In a
Yes.
little bit, we'll talk about a softer brush, but in this case, and then how do you get into those intricate
Corners.
places? So
Which
I
is that angle that you were showing us earlier.
Yeah, you can do that, exactly. That's one way to get into these corners. But I want you to see that you're gonna have, if you get into Photoshop and you're working on an image, there's gonna be areas that are gonna be like this, that you're gonna have to make a decision on what you do to paint in those areas. So I want you to just think about hardness, size, opacity, and color, all those things that I mentioned in the beginning. Whenever you get to a point where you're painting something or need to paint something, think about those things, because all of those things come into play. I see your picture. That's better than I would have done, probably.
Okay. I doubt it.
Cool.
Okay, got your files on the desktop and it's still not opening. I don't have to go through here instead of just clicking on it, right?
There's different ways to do it, but you can do the file open.
Yeah. Now see here, if, I guess I can get rid of this, right? Because that's the zip file. So I can get rid of that or close it out?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
So if you click on the PS, does it not go over to your?
should I read that? Read that, it says reading the TIFF format.
Oh, it's trying to open it.
Okay, I'll just be patient.
All right, 5 minutes. We can do this at home.
Okay, okay.
It's not a big deal.
Okay.
We're here, it's just to exercise. I can do the exercise later.
Mouse is a terrible thing to do.
What?
Using a mouse is a terrible thing. to
Yeah.
do.
This is where it's,
This would be a good exercise for the, using the tablet, do you think? Because I just got the tablet and I just don't have good luck with it.
yeah, another thing I would do right here is you can make it bigger and bigger, 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 and then come in here with a
Oh,
small
yeah.
brush,
Oh,
and
yeah.
get in that little
Yeah.
corner. So, yeah, did everybody understand how I got bigger and smaller?
Didn't you just do it with your hand?
Yeah, the command or control plus and minus.
Oh,
You can do control plus, and it gets bigger, control minus, it gets smaller. If you want it to fill the screen, you do command 0. If you want it to be 100%, you do command 1. That puts it in 100%. Those shortcuts are on your shortcut thing.
okay.
At least they should be.
Yeah, I love that zoom in and zoom out. I use that a lot.
Yeah, me too, especially when you get into detail stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
So did you tell us how, while I was playing, did you tell how to do that?
Well, hello there.
You can't fix my computer.
Yeah. The cat just jumped up on Pat's keyboard.
One of our cats my daughter works from home 2 days a week.
Yeah.
And she's got a little laptop and then she's got a couple of screens. And if she leaves that laptop up, one of the cats gets up there and sits. And I'm sure it's the warm.
It's warm, yeah.
Arm, yeah.
And it's like, oh, and she'll forget. Jenny, get out from there. She'll get in there and there's all kinds of wacky stuff all over the screen.
They like to be the center of attention.
Yes.
All right. We're gonna move on,
All right,
okay?
I'm gonna take notes.
Okay. So the next one is the blue and yellow TIFF. Okay? Do you have that? Do you want to open it up?
Next one is the what?
Blue and yellow TIFF.
Got it. Wondered where the yellow was.
So part of this goes back to our layers we talked about last time. I wanted to kind of introduce this a little bit. If you look over to the layers on the right-hand side, you'll see we have a background layer. And I should have named these layers, which is a mortal sin because I didn't.
Yep, layer one.
So
So change
I'll
the
name them.
yellow.
And blue. So we have the blue box is covering the yellow circle, so the yellow is not showing.
Why do I not have my layers?
What's that?
Nothing. My panels are missing from my RTPC.
Your panels are missing. Did you happen to press tab? Is your toolbar missing too?
No, my toolbar's there.
Okay. Can you, you might want to click on Windows and just see if they're checked. Layers and properties.
Windows. Layers. Okay, there it is. It's back now. Okay.
Okay. So what I want you to know, of course, if you disable the blue, you'll see the yellow circle. Okay. What I want you to understand is that I can add a mask to this. Now, what a mask does is exactly what it sounds like. It covers up. Okay, the masked bandit. Who was that masked man? Didn't know who he was because he had a mask on, right? It's the same thing here. You can have a mask on here, and then you can show through what you want to see. Okay. So the opposite is true too. You can hide everything and then open up what you want to see, or you can show everything and hide only what you want to see. So it just depends on which way you want to go. So when you add a mask, like we're going to do on the blue, that's that little icon down here at the bottom that has a hole in it. If you just click on that, it adds this mask to the side.
Well, okay, over here, my panel says colors, so how do I get to the layer?
Okay, so your layers are down here.
Mhm.
Okay, so all you need to do is make sure you're on the blue layer, which you are, and then click on the little box there with the hole in it. And it's going to add that mask in there. Okay? So
Are
that's,
we finished with the circle of boxes? So I can close that one?
It came out blue.
See, mine's not.
oh, they're turned off.
What is it?
No, you're on the wrong file.
Oh,
You need to close that one. Then with
close this. And then
file open.
open.
And we're going to open, what's the name of this one? Blue and yellow. Well, whoever gets in is going to be spoiled.
I know what it is, the blue and yellow, okay.
Yeah. That one. And there you go. So just make sure you're on the blue layer and click on the icon down here that has a hole in it. Okay?
Can I ask you real quick, how did you change the name?
You just double click the name, layer 2 or whatever,
Okay,
and it highlights it and you just type in.
I feel like it would change things on the file.
Okay? Are we there?
Yep.
Are you there, Jeannie?
Okay, say that again, I'm sorry.
So we want to put a mask on here.
Okay,
So if you click on the blue layer
yes,
and then down here where you've got this little icon at the bottom, can you see my cursor over here? Yeah, this little icon with a little box with a hole in it.
Way down here.
oh,
Way
wait,
down there.
way down,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
there,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Okay. Click on that and it adds this little box to the side of it there. That's called a mask. Now, right now, that mask is all white. What that means is that it's not hiding anything. So if you can just imagine something that you want to cover up, If you put a transparency on top of it, you can still see it. That's what white is. If you put black on top of it, you can't see it anymore. That's the way it works. So if we put black inside that little box there, you won't be able to see the blue circle. Okay, that makes sense? Okay, so just to show you that, if we take that and fill it with black, then it's going to hide the blue square and show the yellow circle. Okay, we're kind of learning masking here along with,
It's going to
Brushes.
show the yellow circle.
it's going to hide the blue mat because it's on the blue layer.
Okay, okay.
And when I put black in there, it's going to hide whatever's on that layer.
Okay.
Okay, so one way to do that is to come over here to edit, fill. Following me? And then in your contents drop down, select black. Okay,
But you could use foreground color.
you could do, there's like 5 different ways to do this.
You found a toy.
So if you click OK on this,
Uh-huh.
all of a sudden the blue's gone.
Oh,
It's magic.
Oh, man.
Black magic.
Yeah.
And notice that now the layer over here is all black.
yeah.
Got that?
Hey, that's weird. Oh, what was the opacity on your black?
100%. Should be defaulting to that.
It did, or mine did.
Yeah, opacity down here, unless you change it. I think it's a sticky change though, so if you changed it
Well, it
before.
was at 40%, but I don't recall having ever had any mode to do that. You know, I do strange things when I'm asleep. Like I used to wake up.
Or after 5
o'clock. Hey.
So what we're gonna do here though, I just wanted you to show this. We're gonna fill it back with white because I want you to do something different, okay? So again, if you click on edit, fill, and this time select white, make sure it's 100%. It's back in your blue circle, I mean, your blue squares there. So what are we good?
Mhm.
Okay, we good, Jean?
No, I can't get the black in there.
Did you do edit and fill?
Are you clicking on the maps?
Here.
Yeah, edit, not file, but edit.
Oh.
That edit tab, yeah, now fill, click on the fill here. All the
Fill.
way down, yeah. And we want white now, is that what we want?
Well, she never got black, did she?
Okay, up here where it says foreground color, take that drop down and you make black. Turn to black.
So you do these,
And then.
let's say other than.
I do
Oh.
advanced.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think that's a lot
You really
more.
can't go
You're
wrong.
very patient.
Is this your?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, not just
And
phasing
now,
in
now what we're
advance.
doing is going
Oh,
back.
well, he expects them to know how to do stuff.
Edit.
Actually, I had the last time too. I expected the advanced class to know a lot more and
Yeah.
they didn't.
Now this time we're gonna change
No.
it.
I just noticed Kelly's not
White,
here.
and then push OK.
Kelly, she's supposed to be.
She sent a message that she
Oh.
wasn't coming.
Oh, but what's
Okay.
weird is you can,
So I paid you too much, but that's okay. You can do
Oh,
it next
yeah,
time.
Opacity.
yeah, because you can see the outline of her
Just
circles
say
on
she's
hers.
already paid for the next time or something.
That's because it's not 100%. So
See, I'm not the only one.
Edit. edit, fill, remember fill. Change that to 100%.
Pad.
And then-
See, the help?
In the trash, yeah.
Ah.
Got it, but it don't want it very
Well,
nice.
I'm not used to sitting on the same phrase at times anyway, so.
Okay, now this one's gonna be easy.
It is.
I
He
promise
says
you.
with a grin.
I want you to take a brush. And I want that brush, let's see, what size do I want? Let's take, mine's at 291. Let's just make it 300. And we'll make it 0 hardness.
300 side. 0 hardness.
Okay,
How can I redo and undo?
redo and undo,
Like that
shift,
one?
press shift, shift along with your command Z or control Z, and it redoes. Or you could do edit, redo.
Okay.
Okay? Are we good?
300, zero hardness.
300 zero hardness, 100% opacity, 100% flow. See, it's gonna be easy because everything's easy. It's 100%.
Everything's easy.
Smoothing's still zero, right?
What is?
Smoothing.
No smoothing. You shouldn't have that turned on.
Oh, I don't know what I'm doing. Okay,
So
Are we ready?
the default is smoothing.
0,
Yeah, it should be zero.
It shouldn't even be visible. That should be
100,
grayed out.
100.
No,
Really?
my smoothing isn't grayed out.
Then you have selected the wrong brush, but don't worry about it. Just go,
I've got the soft round brush.
Yeah.
okay, there's lots of soft round brushes, but there's one that has absolutely nothing. And
It just says soft round.
okay,
I'm using
Okay.
Pat's.
you're using Pat's, okay. Just make sure that the smoothing is 0 up there.
That's why I thought.
We're good.
It shouldn't be turned
Oh,
on. which means
Mine's
that it
turned
is-
on too.
Excuse me?
Mine's turned on too.
Yours is
Okay,
turned
I'll-
on too?
The smoothing
Yeah.
option is grayed out, but the smoothing percentage is not grayed.
Well, if the options is grayed out, so should the percentage. Something's different. Okay,
You said it's on
Anyway,
here.
what I want you to do is
Oh, I'm
with
gonna
your
uncheck.
brush, I want you to get it in the middle of the square. You're painting black. Okay, you're painting black.
Okay.
And we're on-
Okay,
We're on the layer, right?
you're on the blue layer. You got the mask clicked.
Mask layer click,
The mask in the layer is clicked.
Right.
Okay,
right?
everybody there? Jeannie, you there?
I think so.
So I have a question because you said that it's always going to paint your foreground color. And my
Correct.
foreground color over here is white. Does that
Okay.
matter?
Yes,
Do I need to flip those?
yes.
Okay,
Press
okay,
the X key. Mine was white too.
okay, okay. Well, I just did the little elbow arrows, but the X key will switch it too.
I'm sorry, say that again?
I hit the little elbow arrows and
Okay.
it flopped it, but the X key will do that too.
Yes, X key does it too. Oh, I'm
Okay.
sorry, what were you saying?
I was just repeating something you said earlier that. you are
Oh, yeah, X.
with black. The foreground color.
Always paint with foreground color. Just the, yeah.
Automatically. There's the foreground.
So if it's white, you need to switch them if you're gonna
Black,
paint
Because then
black.
you're switching it to
black
foreground.
reveals and white covers. Is that correct?
No, it's the opposite.
Black
Conceals,
conceals.
white reveals.
That's crazy.
We're painting with black because we want to take away some of the blue here. Okay,
And then we're gonna
Because
see-
black is
We're gonna see
absent of
yellow.
all color, right?
pardon
Is
me?
that right? Black is absent of all color. Is that
Correct.
right? So
Correct.
you're
Well-
taking away all the color.
So,
black.
so is any shade of gray has no color.
Yeah, okay,
Technically, any shade of gray has no color. So if it's white or if it's gray or if it's black, there's no color there.
okay.
But we're painting, what we're doing is painting black here. If you start painting, you'll see that it's taking away the
The
blue
blue.
by hiding it. It's just hiding it. Okay? So you are putting that black cover on top of the middle of this box and it's showing whatever is below.
Okay.
What is it, the reverse color? X?
X. Yep.
What size is the brush?
I said about 300, but it doesn't really matter. Just not too big so that you get outside of the yellow.
Mine's not big either. I'm on-
Just change the color.
See, I thought I was on the.
Wrong
on
way.
the ends, right?
That was like,
You know, painting with white. So you can paint with
Okay.
so just make a circle.
Yeah, I just want you to experience what it's like to use a mask and paint with a mask. Okay, That's how you hide something, is by painting a mask with black. And if you
So
look
you
at your
reveal,
mask, I'm sorry,
you reveal, right?
you're revealing, correct?
Yeah, okay,
But you're hiding the blue.
right.
So,
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
yeah.
okay,
So you're
Yeah.
hiding the blue so you can reveal what's underneath it.
yes.
So black conceals, it's concealing the blue.
Mhm.
But revealing the yellows, that's why it's confusing.
It is.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay? It will make more sense in a minute whenever we do some real pictures. If you notice over here on the layer in the mask, you see the blue, I mean, you see the black that I painted in there.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so you can always see that. A shortcut or a little tip is if you press Alt and click on there, you see the mask in here. So if you ever want to see that mask, then you click Alt again and click on the mask again, and it brings it back. So if you ever want to see that mask in detail, that's a good way to do it. That's a tip that's probably not in your shortcut thing.
Oh, I got a circle.
Yeah, you would
Black
get,
circles where the mask is.
yeah, it's just showing you the mask that you painted. You can also, if you do that, you can also continue to paint the mask and paint around it.
But then you can't see that.
You can't see it, that's correct. Then you paint over here and you bring it back and that's what you have.
So you're clicking Alt and what?
Clicking Alt and clicking on the, pressing Alt down and clicking on the mask,
Oh, okay,
on the mask on your layer.
okay,
Where that black circle
yes.
You said shift alt?
is, no, just Alt,
But what did
Look at
it
that.
off?
same thing.
Just
I'm so
alt,
easily
just toggle.
amused.
We'll feel accomplished when we.
No, I already did.
Next time I sign up, I'm just gonna go, sorry, class is full.
I would never do that.
How many people show up for the advanced class? About the same?
About the same, yeah. Yeah, there's about 5 or 6 usually.
I go to both because I have to, well, first of all, I can learn both, but tips learn both. But I have to up this place anyway, so. So I gotta be here anyway.
Okay, are we ready to go to a real picture?
Sure.
Wow.
It's almost 4 o'clock. You're gonna have to leave.
Well, I'm gonna get to this part. So I'm
Okay.
gonna stay as long as I can.
All right, let's close both of these. Now you can do File, Close All, or you can do a Alt, Shift, W, and it closes all. But I always forget that, so I just do a Close All, and then you don't want to save, or I don't want to save. Okay, so you close those. Okay, now we have some real pictures out there. We're going to open a few of them. Well, they're my pictures, so I don't know how real they are. And you know, we can just open all of them, I guess, and just decide which one we want to look at.
Can we select them all?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do here. And just open them all. Yeah.
5 of them?
How many are there?
And that's the tips you had there.
Yes, that start with BFW.
Mine aren't showing a picture.
Some of mine are, one of them wasn't.
I have a message. There's a problem reading the layer data. Read the composite data instead.
I don't know the answer to that, but I think if you say yes, you're not going to have the layer information that you want. But you can try it. Is it just one file?
The clock.
Oh, okay.
I think I might have 2 of the clock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, here I am back to my scratch disk being full, so I'll have to be an observer.
Probably just need to get, do you have any like downloads or something you could throw away to?
Well, you know, I can.
You could also possibly restart the computer if it's Well, not one of those like mine, it takes 20 minutes. to do it.
And
You-
well, when I looked at my computer thing, it had all red across the,
Have you emptied your
Okay.
wastebasket in a while?
I'll go do all that right now.
Yeah, you might do that because there may be some stuff in there that's been thrown away that's taking up space. All right. Now, I was looking for some pictures that we could do some things with, and I'm not sure I got anything really good here, but oh, there's one, shoot, there's one tip I wanted to show you. One tip, I just want to show you this. You don't have to do this, but I'm just going to open another new thing here. I'll
Where is
just,
this bridge?
it's a New Brunswick.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
We haven't been there yet.
No, we haven't.
24,
That's a
71, 24,
2-minute exposure.
12,
My sister was going, "What's taking so
24.
long?" Okay,
Mm,
here's a tip
24,
for painting a straight line.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Click. And then press shift and hold shift down and click anywhere else and it'll go a straight line.
Can you repeat that, please?
Sure. We will be in a minute. I just wanted to show you this tip because I'm going to
Okay.
use it on this picture. So click, press shift down and holding shift down, click somewhere else in the image and it'll paint a straight line. Okay. One more time. Click somewhere else in the image. Shift, click. Now, if you do it again, it'll continue. So you can go around, you could have gone around that square doing this. And paint inside, I do this all the time.
See, I knew he had a trick and he wasn't sharing it.
Oh,
So if you just hold that shift down, click, then hold shift, and then click somewhere else, and it'll paint a straight line. I'll show you what I mean. So we come in here, and there's not much I really would want to do to this picture, but let's say that I wanted to lighten up these little rails right here. Okay. One way to lighten things up is with a curves layer, curves adjustment layer. We haven't gone over curves, but curves adjustment layer, it's the same like curves in Lightroom or curves in Camera Raw, curves in other types of software. All you do is you push it up. And what I do is I look somewhere in here where it's fairly dark and I push it up and it starts lightening. Okay. Now I don't want it to be everywhere. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hide it. So I edit, fill with black. Okay. Now I've hidden it. I've still got the adjustment, but it's all hidden. Okay. Now I'm going to reveal it on these poles here, or rails, or whatever they're called. So I'm going to paint with white. So I'm going to click here, and I'm going to push shift down and then click here. And see how that lightened that up in a straight line? Now I got a little bit off right there, so I would really go in there and straighten that up, or probably get a harder brush. And then I'm going to come over here and do the same thing. So I click, push the shift down, and then click down here, and it lightened it up. See how I did that? So that's one way to use the brush. Now, my brush is a little bit too soft because it's showing out here on these edges. If I zoom in, where you can see it's got it on the edges here, and you really don't want that because it's a halo. So you don't want that. So I would come in here and probably take it back with black and click down like that, and hide that a little bit better. So what I just did was I painted with black on a straight line to hide it. I painted with white on the straight line to reveal it. So now if you look at this, let's see, Command 0, and I turn it off and on, you can see how it lightened those. So that's what I'm talking about with a real picture. If you painted that manually, which you can do, then you would come in here and just start painting down with your brush, which I would do with the tablet and not with my mouse. and just come here and just start painting down. Now, for me, I'm going to show you this, but don't try to do it. I would press R to rotate it. And then I would come in here and I would go like this and bring it in here like this, and then start painting with the brush like this and paint. But I don't have to do that because I did the straight line thing. Does that make sense?
Yes, and so I want to just walk back through it. So you opened the picture and then you created a mask on it, which we chose down here in the bottom with the right? Or did you create a layer first?
I created an adjustment layer.
Okay,
So let me just do it over again.
Yeah, because I missed that too.
How did we get to the assessment layer? That's fine.
Okay, so this is the original picture. What were you saying, Red?
How do we get?
How we got to the adjustment layer button?
Okay, so I was showing you that. Now we're going to do it together.
Okay,
Okay, are we ready?
yes.
Okay. Down here where this little, not the little box with the circle, but the little ball with the slash through it.
Okay.
That's the adjustments. So we're going to click on that and we're going to click on curves.
Curves.
And you can use levels. Either one will work. In this instance, they're both kind of the same, but I use curves because curves can do everything levels can do, but levels can't do everything curves can do, if that makes sense.
What is the difference? I mean, is there an easy way to explain what,
Okay, look at this.
in layman's terms, what the difference is?
Look at the curve right here, and you've got this line that goes through it.
Okay,
Anywhere along this line, I can pick to make a change.
okay.
So I can pick, like up here are the highlights, the right side of the highlights, the left side of the shadows,
Okay.
middle are the midtones. I can pick anywhere of those and I can lighten them or I can darken them.
Okay.
In levels, all you can do is move these sliders back and forth. So all I can do is make the lights darker. I
I
can't,
got you.
okay? So
Thank you for your help.
sorry for the misunderstanding. I mean, I've got to make it better.
Yeah.
Better
I don't
effort,
know
I
what it
guess.
did. I'm sure it's something we have did automatically. You just didn't
Well,
see it.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, I'll know next time, or I'll just double check with somebody. Yeah, I just have to be in Farmers Branch by
If you'd have
6.
checked with me, I'd have told you 3:15.
Yeah, that's
I got you.
Yeah, yeah. But I love, learning something today, so that's good.
well, good.
Yeah.
That's the point. And then you can use these to work on real pictures.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. One of these days, and then right here at the end, my computer froze up, so hey, that just says time to go.
Computer says it's time to go.
Yeah, well, mine's trying to, but I'm not going to. It's
I'll
starting.
let you.
Well, drive
I'll
safely.
let
The
you
farms is
close it
colder
out.
out there than we're gonna
I'll let her out, because I don't know that
You
I
need your cord back.
hit my alarm on my car. so I
Oh,
do that,
okay.
so
All right.
I can do that with Judy.
Okay, all right. Say-
Bye, guys. Good to see
Bye.
y'all.
All right,
Thank
good to
thank
see you.
Should I wait for Jeannie?
Yeah.
Probably so.
Yeah. So
Stand up straight.
what we're doing here is creating an adjustment, and all of these that we're going to look at, we're going to be creating adjustments, different kinds of adjustments. The thing that I use the most in all of Photoshop is probably the adjustments, some kind of adjustment over here. In addition to that, it would be filters, but almost everything I do in Photoshop has an adjustment on it. So curves is one of the ones I use most of the time. Okay. So we just selected this and we selected curves, and this is the curves properties down here. What the curves properties allows us to do is either I can drag up to lighten, or I can drag down to darken. I can use this. This is like levels where I can pull the white point in. I can pull the black point in from this side. I can actually go up this way and change the white point to where it looks like this, where it has that kind of a matte hazy look to it. So all of these different things. You've got the eyedroppers here that you can use to change the white point and black point. You've got these. This is the targeted selection tool. I could actually click on that and come over here, and it creates a point. and then I can use it to go up or down or whatever. And it's puts a point in here based on the luminosity that I selected over here. So it's a very powerful tool. I won't spend much time on it because it's something that we probably should spend a whole class on. As a matter of fact, it's going to be a big deal in our advanced classes next time. We're going to talk a lot about curves.
Advanced, that just made my heart palpitate.
Okay, so this is, as you can see from the curve, most of the pixels are in the shadows. So you just, most of this is a dark picture, so most of everything is to the left. So I'm going to grab it over here, somewhere along here, and it's just arbitrary that you grab the curve, the line, and you can just push it up and it lightens everything. And the more you push it up, the more it lightens. Now you don't want to, but you're looking at those rails because that's what you're going to be editing. You don't care if it blows out something else, because you're wanting to just look at what those rails are going to look like when you reveal them. So that right there is looking okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide everything I just did, and then I want to go back and reveal those rails for this color. Does that make sense?
Yes. It does.
I went over it really quick earlier. So, but that's what I'm doing. Does that make sense, Felicia?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to now hide this adjustment by filling that with black. Now there is another shortcut that I'm going to tell you right now. There's actually two, but I'll use this one because it's easy. If I want to invert this from white to black, I can do a Control I and it just inverts it. So you don't really have to go through the edit fill with black.
I didn't miss that. What do you?
Wait, whoop. Say,
Exactly.
invert.
Okay, and you're inverting it back to what it was before you put the mask?
No, I'm putting the mask on it.
Oh,
So I'm inverting the color from white to black.
okay.
Is that under options?
No, that's just a Command or Control I shortcut.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, I see. And you could have just, I could have just did my little foreground elbow arrows.
You could
Yeah.
also, well,
Okay.
you can also fill with the foreground color, which is Control Delete, or in this case, actually, sorry, it's Alt Delete. So if I want to fill it with the background color, I do Control Delete and it fills it back with white. If I want to fill it with the foreground color, it's Alt Delete. So shortcuts all over the
10
place.
different ways to get to the same spot.
Exactly. And there's actually another one that I could show you, but I'm not. So
Yes.
Command or Control I.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Somebody thinks it's,
Command or Control I is what I use all the time, especially if I'm inverting a mask. Okay. So now what I want to do is I want to come in here while I'm on that mask, and it's important to be on the mask because if you're actually over here, which you could be over here, see how that box is around the adjustment? That you're not on the mask. So you need to be on the mask. So that box needs to be around the mask or you're not going to be working with it. If you're over here and you do a Command I, it gives you nothing. Actually, if I didn't have that, you would probably, if I didn't have the mask, you would probably see something. But you don't want to invert you don't want to invert that. The adjustment itself, you want to invert the mask. So now that we're on the mask, what we're going to do is reveal that adjustment on these two rails. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in just a little bit here. And we're going to go back to our brush. I was on the rotate tool. Okay, everybody on the brush? Okay. I'm going to change the softness to about 40%. And that's just an estimate on my part. I need to have a little bit of softness so that it gets those edges, but not so soft that it pushes outside into the sky here. Okay. And it may take a little bit of practice there to get it to you. You want your brush to be inside the lines here. So you want it to be a little bit smaller here, maybe just a little bigger there. Okay, are we ready for the next step?
I feel like my brush is not changing size. What do you have your brush set for?
Size,
Uh-huh.
118.
Wow. I think it's too big. Doesn't look like it's changing.
Good one.
40.
You're on 118 size? Your brush is 118?
Yeah, I mean, if it's 120 or 110 or something, that's okay. Just, you're gonna get used to changing your brush size to get it the way you want. You're just gonna have to be guessing in the beginning.
I mean, ideally, would you want it about the width of the black rail?
If you have it that width, then you need less hardness, I mean, more hardness on it, because it's going to bleed out if you have it soft. The softer it is, the more it bleeds out. So I've got it at 40% softness or hardness, however you want to say it. So it's just a guess. You want it to be a little bit inside. Plus, that rail gets bigger when you get down to the bottom because it's coming towards you a little bit. But are we ready?
I'm scratched full.
I think
I'm
so.
watching.
All right, so I'm going to click here. I'm going to press Shift, and I'm going to come down here and click again. Okay. That doesn't look like it did anything.
Mine didn't do anything.
Yeah, mine didn't do anything.
Okay, we do want,
It's because we're painting with black. We need to be sure we're painting with white
that's what I thought.
Oh, we're painting with white.
because we need to reveal. You'll find that as you start working with Photoshop and something doesn't work, your mind says, okay, is it this?
Ah,
Is it this? Is it this? Is it this? So you know those things. You get to learn those things that cause it to be a problem. So I'm going to click, and then I'm going to shift, and I'm going to click again. And the brush is a little bit small for me.
Yeah, it's a little small and it seems really light.
So I'm
so
going to,
so the mask layer is black, but then you want to paint with the opposite of that. If we had a white mask layer, then we'd want to paint with black.
right, if you paint with
Okay.
black, that means you're hiding. If you
You're
paint
hiding
with
something.
white, that means you're showing something.
Mhm.
Now, earlier when we painted that blue, or that, was it the blue box to show the
Mhm.
yellow circle?
Yes.
We were painting away the blocks. So we were painting with black to paint away the box. It was showing the yellow circle below because it was painting away the blue box.
Uh,
Okay. I'm going to make my circle just a tiny bit bigger, which is 131. I'm going to try again and see if I can get a little bit more. That's a little better. And then I'm going to come over here. I'm going to do the same thing. Click, shift, click again. Okay. And I could do the same across the top, but that's got kind of a lattice work across there showing part of the sky. So I'm not going to do that. But that, I mean, that does it for you right there, 100%. Now, if I turn that off by clicking on the eyeball and turn it back on, you can see how bright it got. And you were saying you thought it was too bright. Just go to if you think it's too bright,
Then just go to your curves.
go to your curve and pull it down a little bit. Yeah.
And you want to see how sloppy you are? Bring your curves up. Let's show all your hair.
Well, you can
I just
also,
did that.
once again, you can do Alt and click on your mask, and you can see your,
I'll click the mask.
you can see
And
what
can you explain one more time what you get to get those straight lines?
you click your brush, you click,
Okay,
and then you push Shift, and then you go down to the bottom and you click again.
Keep holding the shift key down the whole time. Can you do this on portraits?
Oh, yeah. Depends on what you're wanting to do. In fact, I'll show you, I have a portrait out here, my granddaughter, that we're going to use the brush on. It's not this particular thing, but we're going to use the brush on it. I'll show you. Are we good? Going to the next one? You recognize this.
Mhm.
I traveled there.
It's such a wonderful.
It was. I'm gonna close my
That's the
history
file
brush.
name, I didn't know, right?
Excuse me?
What was the file name? I didn't know.
It's BFW 1941-1 TIFF.
It cannot complete your request because it is not the right kind of document.
Wow.
Who else in there? Was it you, Pat? I don't know. I'm back to my scratch image. I can't remember. Let me see what it is.
Well, we can skip this one if we want to.
I can watch, it's no big deal. Just for some reason, unless not loaded properly. It's not coming up the other one.
These are all tip files, wasn't it?
Yeah, they're all TIFF files.
There's another one, the second one after that.
Hmm.
The 4 or the 6 or 7.
Well,
But,
what else? Does anything come up?
yeah, I've got the portrait of the creek girl, the creek, the barren forest. And clock.
You got the clock?
Well, isn't this the print?
No, I don't know.
He said he had one of the print.
I have one of the creek.
Is it this one?
Maybe, oh, I bet it's too big. That's good. Ah.
I don't think I,
Zoomed in too far. And didn't resize it. It's okay.
it's okay. We got this one? Okay.
I was just looking at the creek. I didn't see the mountain because I was zooming in.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Bother to look, so-
All right. Well, what we're going to do is a little bit of dodging and burning. Now, you've seen this one, I know, but basically I'm going to do it with curves again. So we're going to use curves. We're going to do some dodging first. The way I do dodging is I go in and I just kind of lighten up some of the lighter areas, like in these trees and on top of these rocks and in here, over here. So I'll lighten those up and then I'll go burn and I'll go also darken them around those. And what that does, especially when you do them side by side, is it adds depth. Okay. The real way I would do this is with a DK8 mask, because what I've learned is you can go in, this is advanced, I'm sorry, but
DKA.
TK8.
Well, I got my paper, I
This is a panel, which I don't have, it's not showing here. This is a panel where you can go in and it will do a luminosity mask for you. And you can do the lights and it will show me, it will mask out everything but the lights in here. And then I can just go in and just go like this painting. I don't have to be careful. And then I can go in and do the darks and I can do the same thing. And then when I'm done, it gives me the dodge and burn. It's pretty cool. But the way I did it before that is what you're going to see here. So we're going to do dodging here. So I'm going to do another curves layer. Dodging is lightning, or lighting, or whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to take it in the middle of the curve and I'm going to push it up about halfway up that graph there, about halfway up that quadrant. Okay. Notice how it lit up everything. Now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do a Control I to turn it off. Are we there? See? All good?
Yeah, I think so. As
I can't see your layers. Yeah, okay, now just do a Control
a control one.
I. Invert.
Oh,
Okay, now you got the black right
okay.
there. Darken back down. Okay, everybody's ready? Now, this is just your discretion. And I'm going to show you the way I do it. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to only do it at about 20%. Okay, because you can build up 20% opacity. And this is where I should be using fill, but I've not gotten used to using fill. So I could come in here with a 10% fill and a 20% opacity. And come in here and like on this rock, just kind of paint right in here. And on these rocks and just anywhere where there's some lightness, you'll want to change the size and get some of this lightness, and it looks like you're not doing anything, but
Well, did you reset flow or does it really matter on?
I set flow to 10 and opacity to 20,
Okay.
and it kind of, I'm trying to get used to using the fill a little more. And come in here, and you're going to notice when you're done, you're not going to notice so much when you're doing it. You may notice on occasion, different places. Now, it's not letting me get above 20% unless I let up and continue. But I'm coming in here where these lighter areas are. If you come over here, this is not supposed to be a lesson on doing dodging and burning, but I'm just kind of showing you one of the things you can do with brushes. So I've gone around fairly quickly. I didn't want to spend too much time on it. And if you turn this off and on, you should be able to see some areas where you've added a little lightness, okay? Particularly on the rocks and around there.
What do you mean when you're talking about using fill? Don't see.
I'm sorry, flow. I keep calling it fill.
Okay,
I've always called it fill for some reason. It's flow.
okay,
Flow is what I meant.
so now we just take the brush and go where you want to brighten.
Correct.
It's not as tedious as the bridge because it's not straight line.
Correct. So you would go around to lighter areas, that especially lighter areas that have dark areas beside them, and just lighten them a little bit more.
Lighten a little bit more, okay? Using white.
Okay, you'll notice it when you're done. Unless you may need to increase your opacity up to like 40% or something.
Barely showing on the white screen. I
Well-
can see it now.
Yeah, if you do a alt and click over there, you'll see the little places that I've done. So you should be able to see some places that you've done. The thing is to do it subtly.
Well, I'm hitting the light areas and making it lighter.
Correct, not blown out areas. Don't do white areas, but the kind of, lighter areas. Because the idea is to brighten up the brighter areas and darken down the shadows more, and it adds contrast, it adds depth. That's dodging and burning.
Like the rock.
Right. Luminosity mask would make this a lot easier, though. A lot faster, a lot more accurate. And I've gone through this very quickly, so you would probably spend.
It's subtle, but it's there.
Yeah. So then, once you're done with that, we would add another curves adjustment. And we would,
To that same. Oh, okay. So we're doing to the median,
add another curves. It's going to add another layer.
okay,
And with this one, you're going to go to the middle and you're going to pull it down about halfway down that quadrant. And it'll darken everything.
okay.
I don't have anything registering in my curve.
What?
Oh, I know. I need to go back to the picture and then add a layer together.
Then invert.
And then we want to change to black.
No, you're still painting white.
Yeah, that's what we darken and then.
Yeah. Then again, you're painting with white because you're revealing the darkness below. So now you come down here on these rocks down here, for example. Even in some of the dirt down here, you can make it a little darker. This is something that you would take a little bit of time on and do it. And if it doesn't look very good, then you can start over. If it looks like you need to do more, you can do more. But the idea is that you're adding depth by doing dodging and burning. Oops.
Now, is this set to where we are, once we press down, we just go to town, or do we, and it only will darken as much as our opacity, right?
Correct.
Okay, so it's not that, okay, we have to click every time to make it darker and darker, right?
Right. Now, I have a habit of doing that myself, but the whole idea of flow is that you just go back and forth. Now, maybe we want to have flow or opacity at 30% and have flow at 10 or something like that. Because I have a tendency.
What do we have flow at? I have it at 10. Is that what everybody is working
Yeah,
at?
that's
Okay,
what we have.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it just kind of depends. If you're not getting it dark enough by rubbing on it like that, then you can let up and do it again.
Mm-hmm.
And it may be better to zoom in on some of these foreign places down here,
Yeah.
but and this is the way I do it. I guarantee you, if you got somebody else, they're going to show you a totally different way.
I remember when you showed us the 3 different ways to basically do the same thing, and this would just seem the most straightforward and easy to remember. And
Yeah, I created an action to do this for me, so I don't have to. It doesn't do the painting, but it creates the layers for me. And so I just run the action, then start painting. But it just takes a little practice of knowing where to paint. If you have a tree, for example, where the light's coming in on one side, you'll lighten that side and you'll darken the other side, and that shadow will be much more intense. And it will look much more, it'll have more depth to it. Okay, so I just did some more here. I turn that off and on. Yeah. You can see, especially down here in the front. What I normally do, we'll take those and put them in a group. And you don't have to do this, but just to show you, if I turn them both off and on, you can kind of see, especially in the trees up there, there's some differences. Down here on the foreground, a little bit of difference. I will typically do more than this to make it a little bit more, add more depth.
You just have to have an eye for it.
Yeah. This is straight out of Camera Raw, where I hadn't done anything to it in Photoshop. Whenever, it's not the final image. I brought it here out of Camera Raw. The final image, I did a lot more stuff to it. Where I did dodging and burning using luminosity mask, and it did a lot better job than this. And I also put a vignette on it, and I think I sharpened it or something. I don't remember what else I did. But most of my work is done in Camera Raw. So you can see all the stuff that you can do in Camera Raw. I wish I could show you here before. I don't think this will go
This
back.
camera roll, when it's like Lightroom.
Yes. Yeah, this doesn't, I don't have the XMP file. No, I don't. That's right.
How do you organize your eyes?
My wife asks me that all the time when she wants me to find a picture. I have a drive for landscapes. I have a drive for portraits. I have a drive for my sports stuff. Each one of those has their own folders. With my landscapes have folders for different locations I've been, different photo walks I've been on, stuff like that. My portraits, I have them separated by on location, studio, seniors, and then family, and something else. Sports, yeah. I have some of that in there. So I have them, that's the way I do it. And I do, you can do keywording in Bridge, and you can find things in Bridge based on keywords. It's not very good, but you can do it. So it's not, obviously not as powerful as what I could do in Lightroom, but Lightroom did not fit with my workflow.
so that's why, Robert and we were talking, I think, on our trip, and Robert and I said, well, what if I should start using Kevin Raw instead of Lightroom, and she doesn't grasp that whole catalog thing. And then she imports a photo, and then she doesn't have any idea what they're at. And I was like, that way she would know where she put them, and that's where they are, you know. We mentioned that to Marty, and Marty got real mad, I think, because Marty's spent a lot of time trying to teach cataloging to lines. He's like, whatever y'all want to do, like, I'm just trying to come up with some way that she can understand better, you know.
Mhm.
Because I'm like, I've gotten it now, and I don't want to change. I thought, well, maybe I should switch. It's like, I'm used to doing it now, so then it would just be different, you know, but.
I struggled.
The cataloging, it is very confusing until you finally get it. You understand, okay, now I see what it's doing. Now I see why you can't just delete stuff and then all of a sudden Lightroom doesn't know where it is. You have to do all that in Lightroom.
Right, yeah.
And I just thought, you know, it's basically the same as far as the way it works. It's just the cataloging is different.
I sometimes forget where I put it in Lightroom, but I try to be as generic as I can. Like everything for Frost I take pictures of, it's like under Frost subfolder and then go by the date I did it. And that's as simple as I make it.
See, that's,
I do everything by
specific-
years and months, and then
Yeah.
have, you know, if it's like our trip, that one was, as you said, its own separate little thing.
Yeah, you will make a folder for the trip.
Yeah,
You make a
But,
folder for Frost, you make a folder for family.
well,
make a
see,
folder for Christmas.
but the power of Lightroom, though, as far as that is concerned, is using keywords, because that's how you find it, because the way you're talking is no different than what I do.
right.
I create, I create my own folders and stuff, and I can find it through folders. But if I want to look at, 20-year-old at the ball at whatever, I have to have those keywords, and if I use those keywords, it pops
And
them
I'm
right up.
trying to be really good about using keywords. You know, for a long time, I just
I don't
didn't do
use
them.
keywords.
Well, then you don't need Lightroom.
I do because it tells me where it's stored.
It stores it wherever you put it.
I know I can store it on my hard drive just by inputting it with
Right.
the directory, but this way it's there, and at least I can find it.
My problem, well, I can find it too, if I just go to Finder and find it, but
Well, you don't use Lightroom edit, if you use Lightroom edit, you still have to have it in the folders.
say that again,
If you're
Lightroom.
gonna edit in Lightroom, you have to import it,
Right, but I edit in Camera Raw, which is exactly the same.
but you have to import it also.
We have to import it in Lightroom,
But in Lightroom, it makes you put it in a certain folder.
this folder that you choose.
Right.
Same with me. I go, and I'm not trying to pick an argument or anything, I'm just saying that the only
I'm trying to
advantage you
figure out
have,
what you're saying.
well, okay. I go in and I bring my images in from a card, and I put them in I create a folder for it and put it in one of my drives where
So
it
you've
makes
done this
sense.
way before you open up anything.
Sure.
Okay, so you're just importing directly from drive to drive.
Yep.
Creating a folder. and all that.
Yep.
Okay, so that's what Lightroom does for you.
No, but you tell it where you're putting it though. You tell Lightroom what folder to put it in,
Right. But
which is the same thing I'm doing.
but you're not, you don't have Lightroom open yet, or you don't have,
I don't need Lightroom open.
why not? I have Lightroom, yeah.
Camera Raw,
You don't have
Bridge.
Camera Raw open yet.
I could, I just don't choose to do it that way.
Problem with Lightroom, if you don't grasp the concept, which is Wyatt's problem, is if you go and you decide, oh, I'm gonna move this group of files under this, then
Moving.
Lightroom doesn't know where they are.
Moving them around can be, you have to do a very special way of doing it.
Right, you have to do it
You
in
can take it and
Lightroom,
tell it in Lightroom to move, but you can't move it on the drive because Lightroom will lose it.
Correct,
right,
correct.
and that's what,
But you can make it go find it. You can make it go find it, but you can.
well, you can, but
You have to tell it where to look though.
Right,
you're more computer literate.
right.
When you take someone that is completely computer illiterate, it really she has a real problem with it.
Yeah,
And
so-
she doesn't know where, when she imports it, she doesn't know where they go.
But if she imports it with Lightroom and tells it where to go,
She doesn't understand that part of it.
And rather than import it to a drive, because it will pop up, if you put the card in, it'll pop up. You want to import these to the
Yeah,
drive.
see, that's what she
You
doesn't
need to
understand.
Turn that off.
That's why I think it'd be easier if she just puts them in wherever she wants them, and then she knows where they're at, because that's where she put it.
And then she can go import it from there. which you
No,
have
it's,
to do.
you're missing the point of what her problem is.
Because in order to get it in Leonard catalog, you still have to go through the import process once you get it on the drive.
Right,
And so,
she doesn't know where it goes, when she tells it to import.
yeah. I
She
know my
can't
wife
figure
was
out
saying,
how to tell it where to go, and then she can't remember where she told it, so she can't find
It's
it.
like when you download something, you forget which folder you have
Right.
to download folder. You know,
All right.
I use download.
One more comment and no rebuttal. The only thing for me, my perspective, my opinion, Lightroom, the only thing it gives me is the management of the files that I don't have otherwise, okay? And the management of the files, you're still telling it where it is on your drive. You're still using a directory structure that of your choosing. The only advantage that it has over the way that I'm doing it is the keywords. And if you don't use the keywords, then there's no advantage to using Lightroom, in my opinion, unless you're using a slideshow or the films or all that's making a book and all that kind of stuff that I don't use. That's me. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. Okay, the next one here. This is Bryce Canyon. This is as we were leaving.
Yeah.
Me and Gene and I, proper English, stopped and we saw this and we shot some pictures. So not a great shot, but it's something. What we're going to do is we're going to lighten up the bottom part down here. Okay.
Mhm.
And again, curves, you guessed it. We're going to open a curves adjustment layer. We'll do this together because we're running out of time. Excuse me. Okay.
Mhm.
Everybody ready? And we're going to brighten it up, and we're looking at the bottom of the picture to determine how much to brighten it up. So maybe about right in there somewhere. Okay. We good?
Mhm.
Okay. We're going to invert to darken it back to mask everything.
Mhm.
Then we're going to come in here with a pen, or excuse me, with your brush.
Uh-huh.
And just kind of make a big brush up here because you're going to go all around the bottom here. And we're going to soften it. I'm going to make it a 0 hardness. And I'm going to come in here and just kind of paint in here.
Let's see.
Now, I didn't change my brush, so let me undo that. I'm going to change my opacity to 100%. Okay. Flow at 10%. So I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to start going back and forth and start brightening up this bottom part. And over here where it's darker, I may go over it several times.
I'm sorry.
100%.
100%.
Yep.
Okay, and then 10%.
Yep. So we're doing 10% at a time. And we come in here and you can see, if you look up here at my mask, you can see kind of how I did. It's almost 100% added in, but it's nice and soft, so it blends in.
Mhm.
Okay. So now if I turn it off, turn it back
Okay, so I
on.
guess what I missed a while ago was that you want to bring that brightness up to your dark area. You see the dark area. And so when you bring that brightness up, you want it to be, you want to raise it as much as you are wanting the end result to be, right?
Yeah, and then you have the
Or
ability.
beyond that.
Then you have the ability to go into some of the brighter areas and not paint in as much. And the darker
Okay.
areas, you'll want to paint in more. In my instance, I painted in almost 100% all the way across. It just kind of depends on what you see as you're painting long. And if that's not enough, you can always come back here in here and raise it up a little bit more to make it a little bit brighter like that.
Yeah, because mine's much brighter than yours.
Okay,
But that's probably because I pulled my curve up more, right?
correct. Correct.
Okay.
Now, if it's too bright, all you gotta do is pull it back down.
And it'll adjust what I've already done.
Yeah, you just pull it back down and you can see. that
Oh
it's getting
yeah,
darker.
it adjusts what I've already painted in. Okay.
Yeah. Okay,
I like that. Okay.
Once you're actually painting, you can then adjust the brightness.
yeah, you can do that.
Through the tape.
Yeah, I like that.
Now, there's one more thing I want to show you here on this,
Where it almost looks 3D.
on this particular one. I want to show you what I was talking about a while ago with the trees. We're going to do it with this one on the ground. If we do a dodge and burn, so we're going to do another, and I'm going to do this kind of quick. I just want you to see it. We're going to do a curves, and this is going to be a dodge curve. So that means I'm going to brighten it. Okay, then I'm going to invert it. Then I'm going to come in here with it at 100% at 10. And I'm going to paint it in along here, along this lighter edge. And see how it's lightening that up?
Mhm.
Give it a little bit of more depth. Then I'm going to do another one. I keep grabbing my phone instead of the mouse. I'm going to do another curve. Whoops, I did exposure, sorry. Do another curve. And we're going to darken it. So I'm going to bring it down. Then we're going to invert it. And then I'm going to paint along the bottom part here. Like this. And now, if I take these two together, group them, turn it on and off, you can see the difference that it makes on that
Yeah.
right there. So you have, it looks like it has a little bit more depth. And if you do that all the way around with like these trees up here, they're pretty bright, but maybe this tree over here, add a little bit more brightness there. You don't want to do something that doesn't exist. So add a sun where there was no sun
Yeah.
or something like that. But this one right here particularly, you could just brighten that up just a little bit and maybe darken the edge, back edge of it. And it would look a little bit, have a little bit more depth. You could do that with the leaves here too. So you could brighten up like that area right there and brighten up some of these other areas right here, darken around underneath them where it's a little darker, and that would pop a little bit more.
You're
That's
saying
why I wanted-
darken those areas,
Yeah, just
make
all
more
you're doing
shadow.
is you're adding contrast. That's
Mhm.
all you're doing. When you add contrast, you're adding depth. Okay.
The
So
sun's coming in from the left here, right?
it's coming from the left, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
And this was as we were leaving Bryce Canyon. Excuse me. I did most of this, all of these are, I'm showing you are straight out of Camera Raw. So, and I wish I could show you the original. I should have brought the XMP file so you can see the original, because there's so much you can do in Lightroom or Camera Raw to bring these to bear without doing anything in Photoshop.
Oh, yeah.
Is there a preference? If you're in Photoshop, just go ahead and do it in Photoshop, or should you go back into raw?
Well, the argument is that in Camera Raw or in Lightroom, everything is non-destructive. When you get into Photoshop, when you save it, you have to save it to a TIFF or a TSD or something like that, which is by nature a destructive thing. Now, that said, using layers, you can make it non-destructive. And that's the way I work. I go in and I know, and I get to a point where I have to do something that becomes destructive. I try to figure a way that I can get around that, so that if I change my mind or I want to do something different, I can go back and I don't have to redo totally everything.
Just trash that area that you didn't want.
Sure. And I use smart objects for most of that. And I use the ability to, if I want to change something, then I can go back and I can change it and then go back to that point and maybe just delete that one thing, but then be able to use that filter or whatever I used for that. And you know, without having to redo the filter. And I don't know, that's kind of hard to understand what I'm trying to say, but the point is, my recommendation, do everything you can in Lightroom
Okay, so I should learn that.
or Camera Raw, which is what I use. And I'm not saying Lightroom's terrible, because Lightroom's a great product. It
Well,
just
you're saying
didn't
it's the
fit me.
same thing, you just don't want to catalog.
Exactly.
So,
I want to
mean,
create,
I like what we're doing in the Lightroom, organizing photos now with Ron. Where he's doing the different categories and collections
exactly,
of images.
exactly. Now you can do collections in Bridge too.
Okay.
You sure can. You can do slideshows in Bridge. There's lots of things you can do in Bridge that that you do in Lightroom too. Lightroom, and by no means is Bridge as powerful as Lightroom. I'm not trying to say that, but you can do keywording and you can do those same things over in Bridge.
I think it's just whatever you start learning on that you come to learn.
My biggest problem with Lightroom is this. Whenever I am finished with the raw files, I zip them to save room.
Mhm.
When I zip them, Lightroom goes, huh? Where'd that go?
Oh,
I have
yeah.
no idea what you've done.
Well, that's why. Why don't you say that the first, in the first place?
I-
And what I understood why.
No, it's you that I was trying to understand.
Well, it's because you zip. You zip your file, there's no way anybody can keep track of it.
Exactly. So I don't need Lightroom.
That's right. I don't like zipping.
Well, but it saves so much room. I don't need near as many terabytes of
I
room.
don't do as much stuff.
Yeah, you create these huge files and posters and.
Yeah.
stuff.
And I like to keep those. I'm a pack rat, I admit. I've got stuff from 20 years
I've
ago
never
that I.
gotten rid of any wrong file. And they think I'm stupid for doing it. But even the bad ones, like, now, if they're really bad, out of focus crap shots, I'll delete them, yeah.
I've deleted
But-
ones of my feet.
Yeah, and, you
Well,
know,
you're a
stupid-
photographer as well.
Yes.
stupid shots, I accidentally hit the button or whatever. But I just can't seem to get rid of them, because I know I may want to come back someday, even if it's not exactly as perfect as it should be. There's something I could work on or
Well,
whatever.
I'm kind of that way. I used to get rid of pictures before I realized you could do things to make them look nicer. Now I'm afraid to get rid of them.
Yes,
And then I keep all my JPEGs that I made from the ones I picked from to make turn into JPEG. I file them on a separate directory for pictures.
we got 10 minutes, guys.
Okay, let's go.
Okay. Okay, no, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but yeah, we need to get through these couple other pictures here. And we're not getting to creating brushes today, I guess. We'll do that next time. What I wanted to do here, go watch that video. It'll
There you
tell you,
go.
it'll tell you how to do it.
It's in the, you sent it in the Google Drive?
Yes, yes, it's in that shortcuts.
Okay.
By the way, that shortcuts thing I had to email to myself and then I printed it in a PDF. That's why it's got this banner at the top with my logo.
Oh, okay.
So, all right, what I wanted to do here was I need to add some contrast to this because it's kind of cloudy looking.
Mhm.
So what I did was I pulled it down with curves and I could actually, bring this up just a little bit if I wanted to and just kind of keep it from hitting totally black. But what I've done is I pulled it down so that you can see it a little bit better. And I think it actually looked better before. Yeah,
We
about,
had pulled down a lot.
about the same, I guess. Yeah, I did. And, oh, that's because I've got that on. There we go. If I turn that off. There we go. So, yeah, let me just do this. Okay, yeah, so now I'm going to paint it over the clock so you can see it. By the way, if you want to hide the mask, you can press Shift and click in there and it hides the mask. So you go back and forth like that. Hide, show, hide, show. So I'm hiding the mask when it's got a big X in the middle of it if I'm hiding the mask.
Oh,
That's a way of-
of.
As a way to just turn the mask off and not turn the entire layer off.
Okay.
Okay, shift, click on the mask. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to paint on the clock to paint that in. And I'm painting with white.
How do you decide what your settings are going to be?
It's just practice. It's just practice. Right here, I'm going to have it the same way, 100% at 10 flow. Actually, I want the flow to be at about 30 because I want it to paint faster. Okay, so I want my brush to be bigger here. I can't even see it. There we go. And I want it to be fairly hard, but not totally hard. So I'm going to make it about 75%. Because I want it to be, I want it to hit these edges pretty hard. I don't need it soft. I'm going to zoom in here. And I'm painting with white. So I'm just going to come in here. And I'm just kind of revealing this and just kind of pushing it around. Okay. And you just keep until you get what you want. So now you've got a clock face here that you can see. Make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah. mine's like-
See?
So you had opacity at 100,
Yeah.
flow at 30,
Yeah. Painting white.
yeah.
Okay.
Whoa.
That's what they
I mean, I can
usually
see
do.
I can see the white on
I
the
did
mask,
something
it's
wrong.
just not revealing much. Am I doing something wrong?
Try pulling it way down.
Or is it looking-
So you put it out.
Sure, does it look dirty yellow now?
Excuse me?
It's gonna- dirty.
Okay, so there is another trick that you need to know when you're opening up shadows, especially. Now, in this case, we're doing just the opposite, but when you're opening up shadows especially, it tends to change the color. Okay, and you don't want it to change the color. In this case, you don't want it to change the color either. And what you can do is say, change the blend mode to luminosity. And the blend mode of luminosity says, I only want it to be the light, not shifting any color. So if you change it, it still has a little bit of yellow cast to it, but I think that's
Not as much. No.
the natural color there. But I do that a lot, the luminosity, those dodge and burn curves. I have those changed to luminosity. I didn't show you that, but that's typically what I do. Okay, are we good there?
Mhm.
I'm going to go to the next one. Hurry up here. Now this one is easy. Oh, I put all the layers in here. I just thought you might like to see how I edit a portrait. This is, like I said, it's my granddaughter. I did frequency separation first, then I whitened her teeth a little bit and lightened her eyes a little bit, and then I added a vignette. So if I turn all these off, you can see the different things that I did. And I'll show you that right quick. If we come in here to her like this, frequency separation is going to get rid of those little bits of, you can see it as I turn it on and off. You have to kind of look hard, but you can see like there's a little bit of blemish down here, a little bit up here and here. If I turn that off, you can see those, turn it back on. So it smooths your skin out quite a bit, got rid of any blemishes. Then I whitened her teeth, and you're going to see they're not that yellow actually, but they just become a little bit whiter when I do that. Just a little bit. Then her eyes, look at her eyes, lighten those up a little bit, add a little bit of depth in there. And then I added this.
Do that with your curves, blending and dodging curves that you showed us?
No.
Okay.
So this is what you've already worked on, and you're
Yes.
just turning off the wrong show us, okay,
Yeah, and it's there if you want to see it. I mean, I just thought
okay.
I took away those layers for all the other stuff.
Mhm.
I just thought you might want to see it here.
Okay, yeah.
But what we're going to do is we're going to add our own vignette. Okay.
Mhm.
And guess what I'm going to use? I'm going to add a curves layer. Now you can see this is the vignette I used before, what I used levels,
Mhm.
but I'm going to use curves here. So we're going to add a curves layer. Okay.
So you're selecting the layer that you want to affect, right? You put to add this to.
In this case, I want to affect everything. So I'm just adding a layer.
So if you clicked on the top layer, it just automatically goes to the next layer.
Yeah.
So that's why whenever you hit that.
Yeah. So if I could start down here, but then it would be underneath the adjustment of eyes and other stuff, which I don't want. I want this vignette to be on top of everything.
Right, okay.
Okay.
I didn't know if it mattered which one you clicked on. When you click add
The adjust, yeah, it does. It's gonna go right above.
So you want the top one to the next one.
Okay, so I'm gonna darken this, so I'm gonna push it down. Something like this, okay? And it just depends, you may want to change your mind in a minute as to where you want it. I'm going to come in here, and I'm gonna invert that, okay? Then I'm gonna take a brush and I'm gonna make it really big. And the reason I want it really big is because we're gonna make it 0 hardness. And when it's bigger, it gradates even bigger. So it's going to gradate a lot. So I'm going to paint. It's going to be 30%, and I'm just going to come in here, and that 30% is way too much. And that looks like it's hard. It is at 75%. Remember, we had it on 75%. Let's see, back to there. So, well, I'm going to leave the flow at 30%, but I'm going to change the hardness to 0. Okay. Right. And we're going to leave it here, and I'm just going to come in here at first and see it's just barely getting in there. And I'm not going to want to cover her legs. Okay, so I'm not going to get her arm, but I'm going to come in here like this, and we're just going to kind of do something like that. So now you've got a real soft, if we look at this, see, I've got a real soft vignette in there because I used a very soft brush, very big. When I use it really big, it's really soft. And it's just coming in here just on these edges. So you get this kind of a vignette. Kind of cool, huh?
Yeah.
If you don't use that, this is the vignette I had on there, which I used a regular circle. So I used the elliptical marquee tool, and I got a little bit on there. Okay. And you can do it that way too. I have an action that actually does my vignettes for me. But yeah, so that's a vignette. That's another way to use a brush, real soft brush going around. Okay. All right. It's 5 o'clock. Any questions?
I'm so glad.
We don't have that much time.
No questions? Any questions, Felicia?
No, I'm good. I'm excited to use some of these things.
Well, good. I'm gonna
Gets
put
me
this
out of the presets.
Excuse me?
Gets me away from the presets, a lot of it. I just use either the auto or the slider and
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I will turn the recording off, and then we will I'll post this out there. See, how do I turn it off now? Stop share. Here's the recording. No? Remote control. Well, I'll figure it out. Maybe I
Thank
have
you
to
so
stop.
much. I appreciate you figuring out a way to allow me to be able to participate. I appreciate that.
Oh, sure, sure. I'm sorry you weren't here. I think it would have been more, a little better for you if you were here, but circumstances are what they are. I was glad that you were able to join.
Better safe than sorry, I think.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining.
Yes, it was a great time. Thank you so much for your time.
You bet, you bet.
I'm still recording.